Welcome to the Chain Out Podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Darrell.
Hey everyone, welcome to Chain Out Podcast, episode 44. Oh my goodness, look at that. There's a celebration going on.
There's a celebration going on over here. Hopefully you're tuning in on YouTube and you can get to see this fantastic display. What? Did I downplay it too much?
Oh, I don't think you downplayed it too much at all. What do we got behind you there? We got
For people that are
two.
Yeah, for people that are listening and don't get to enjoy this, we have a big gold, probably 2 to 3 foot high, inflatable 250 balloons behind me because we hit 250 subscribers on YouTube.
Woot, woot, woot.
We've been going on about it for quite a while, trying to get to that magic 250. It seemed like forever, Jeremy.
It did. But we got there.
But we got there. And
thanks
we have to
everybody.
celebrate.
Oh, we totally have to celebrate. This is amazing.
There
and you
you go.
surprised me. That's one of the things that's awesome about this. We turn off our cameras, and when you turn them back on, we have no idea what's going to happen. So
You've turned up in Hawaiian shirts. You've turned up in cool dude hats and everything. So I thought it was my turn to surprise you. 250. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing. Means a lot. Means we get to do a giveaway.
yes, we do. And we'll talk more
Yeah.
about that in a little bit. But
Absolutely.
Darrell, we have got an episode tonight.
We do. It's a big one.
In the past, we've had one guest on the show.
Yeah.
We've had 2 guests on the show. We've even gone so far as to have 3 guests on the show.
Well, that's as many as we can do, I think.
Well, we're going to find out if we can do any more because tonight we're going to try and have 4 guests on the show.
We're bringing you more. 250 gets you more.
And we're going to have to jam pack that content in to keep us in our time, but we're going to do it.
Let's
So
have
why
it.
don't we tell everybody what we got going on?
Why don't we?
I should start maybe.
You should.
Tonight we're going to recap the 2 A tiers and, if I may say, the 2 biggest tournaments of the Canadian season so far, Nationals and the RIP.
Yeah. We're going to start by telling you all the results of the fantasy picks that we did. We do the A tiers, we do the fantasy show, Innova Rep, Canadian Nationals. We'll let you know how everybody got on in that event.
And then we're going to get right into the interview, starting with Canadian Nationals FPO winner, Sofia Donnecke.
How do you follow that up? The RIP FPO winner, Rebecca Dawn.
And then sticking with the RIP, we'll be talking to the tournament director, Darrell Banks.
Yeah. And then to finish up the interviews, we'll go back to the Nationals and we'll talk to assistant tournament director, Carrie Neal.
And if you haven't heard enough about Nationals, Darrell, I can give you some of my thoughts and why I think everyone should go to Nationals at least once.
We don't need to talk to the FPO winners about Nationals and how a good experience it is. We'll just get your first-hand experience. You were there, Jeremy.
Yeah, MA 40, 38th place. Come on, man.
You spoiled it. And then, as always, at the end, exciting news about our 250 subscriber giveaway.
Yeah. So let's get into those fantasy picks then.
Yeah, let's do it. So, for those who don't know, we do a Canadian Fantasy League disc golf. All the A tiers across Canada, 11 A tiers. Each week we have a special, or each event we have a special guest on. This one was a bumper episode, so we had to raise the bar. We had to get someone special on to do the double episode. We were joined by Edgar President Tim Plamondon. He came onto the show. We did a free-for-all style draft snake pick. It was pick from whichever tournament you want, pick whichever in order, FPO, MPL. There was no rules. You had to have 3 MPO, 3 FPO from each tournament. Everybody had their picks. Do you want me to show you how it went down, Jeremy?
I do. I'm really got my fingers crossed for this one, Darrell.
So the way that I added them up was we put all our picks into one, like we had them as a complete list. So all of the team, all of the players on the teams that you and I picked. Give me 1 second here. There we go.
Oh, wow. You
Those
put
are all the
everybody
points.
together.
Everybody's,
Whoa.
our whole teams. For the first time in quite a while, Team Shambles did not take down the win. Team Firebird, Tim banging out a win over the 2 tournaments, I should say. That was the total points. That wasn't necessarily the wins for the tournaments.
Right.
So we had individual points per event.
Yes.
So let's take those total number of points first. Let's put those together and add those to the previous points that we had. And you'll see Jeremy, Team J Powell 75, Team Guest on 81, and Team Shambles still in the lead at 94.
Yeah, you got a healthy little lead with only a couple tournaments left.
Yeah, and I'm not hopeful, but I'm still, in fear that somebody might catch me. I don't think it's you, but somebody might catch me. So with those two tournaments, obviously there was two tournaments. What ended up happening was Team Shambles and Team Firebird took down the win at Nationals,
Mm-hmm.
and Team Firebird and Team J-Pow took down the win at the RIP.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I know. Let me just bring this up here because I have to give everybody evidence. Look at it right there.
Yeah.
Team J-Pow has a win on the board.
So everyone who's been supporting Team J-Pow, thank you. We got our first win, and not at all too late in this event.
The trouble is that obviously you tied with Team Firebird, so they got a win as well.
Yeah.
And then I won an event, but then I tied with Team Guest Invite as well, Team Firebird. So they got two wins. So, hats off to Team Firebird, Tim. He came on the show on the very first episode. He didn't win that episode, I'm afraid, but he came back for revenge, and he definitely showed us, who the boss is over the two events there. So he did pretty good.
Yeah, and thanks to Tim for coming on, because I know in that first episode there, he did the heavy carrying or the heavy lifting, and he got us going with that episode. Yeah, and ever since then, he set the stage, and it was great to have him back. There was only one person who could handle that many picks with us, and it was Tim.
Yeah. So then is the part that Jeremy always likes to know, because he thinks that he has a shot in this, was the fan vote. We put it out on Instagram. We put our teams out. All those picks went out on Instagram. There was a poll. You got to vote on the poll with which team you thought was going to win. Again, they were separated because they were two separate events, so we had to separate the teams. Now, up until this weekend, and I'm not spoiling anything here, but Team Guest Invite had never won a fan vote. Nope. And if you go back and watch the episode, Tim kind of said things might have been a bit fishy. So I actually took evidence. There you go. That is the fan vote. You can see there that Team Shambles won the Canadian Nationals fan vote. 60% of the votes, everyone believed in Team Shambles. And then we'll just flip it over. There you go, Tim. Team Firebird got their first fan vote win. Innova RIP, 58% of people voting for your team at the Innova RIP.
Good job, Tim.
So overall, now that means that Team Shambles has 5 wins. Team Jeremy has 3 fan vote wins. Guest Invite now on the board with 1 win.
Yeah. Well, this is a point too, Darrell. Is this a time where I can shout it out? Is we ask people not only to vote on the teams, but we also ask them to maybe pick their own team and put it in the comments. So for Nationals, one of our listeners goes by the name of Dion Pickles Teller. So shout out to Dion. You might be able to tell where Dion's from when I tell you the players that he picked on his team. So we had Miguel Alvarado, Terry Hong, Sofia Donnecke, Gabby Lee, Casey Hannemeyer, and Nick Culver. So do you got any idea, maybe a little bit of a West Coast preference there?
That's what I'm seeing, yeah.
And what I'll tell you is if Dion's team was in this competition against us, they would have got 11 points and they would have beat all 3 of us. Wow.
I mean, hindsight, depending on when he put in his team, if you put it in at, so I should also mention that the poll voting closes normally around 10 o'clock, maybe midnight on Saturday. So, when you've got 2 rounds done, it's pretty easy to pick the winners at that point, I think, Jeremy. But good job for you.
Yes. There is one other thing I want to pop in here too.
Sure.
So I was over at Nationals.
You were.
And I'm going to tell you, there was somebody out at Nationals in the MPO division that had a little bit of a problem with our fantasy picks last time.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yes. This person said, "What? I didn't get picked?" Yeah. And you know what that person did?
Yeah.
They went out and decided to make lead card final day.
Yeah. Made us have egg all over our face.
That's right. So I don't know. Do we
Congratulations.
apologize? Do we congratulate? We do it all? What do we do?
Yeah, we come cap in hand, apologizing, but also on the other hand, we offer you a big cake to Riley Douglas.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
congratulations.
yeah, I got to
But
run into Riley a few
but
times, and
it is like we say, even out of our picks, we had 6 MPO, so that was 18 MPO. No, sorry, 12 MP. 3, 6, 12. Oh my god, I'm not very good at math. 9 MPO from that division. Any one of those 9 could have won on any given day. And outside of our 9 picks, obviously anyone can creep into the top 10, top 5, even get on the podium. So just goes to show that just because we pick those people, that doesn't mean that's the be all and end all of the tournament.
that's right, for sure.
But as we say about voting on the teams, when you do vote on the team, you get entered into a chance to win a $10 gift card, or depending on the amount of points that you score, courtesy of BR Disc Golf. So for the Canadian Nationals, we should give a bit of a shout out to Jess, not your average discer. That person won a $10 gift card for voting on the Canadian Nationals. And on the Innova Rip picks, for some reason, I didn't write down their name. James Goff. Congratulations to you. You also get a $10 gift card from BR Disc Golf.
And that's awesome. So with that too, we want to make sure to shout out to BR and say thank you for sponsoring the fantasy picks this year so far. We've got a few more tournaments to go. And another reminder is that if you want to order anything on BR and you're in the Edmonton area, there's a couple nights left for Rundle League, a couple weeks. Yep. And you can get $5 shipping by just signing up for that and then pick up your discs at Rundle League on Thursdays. So thank you, Brendan. Thank you, BR Disc Golf. And it was good too to see your teams performing as well, with Terry Heiserbaum Hong out there and Zoe Lorenz Bozer represented. So
yeah, no, it was like we said before on the fantasy episode. You almost have to have two phones going at the same time to cover the both events. You're obviously in the thick of it in nationals, but I was kept flipping back and forth between the Rip and nationals. Obviously the time difference made it easy in the beginning because some players were teeing off earlier than the other ones out on the West Coast, but there was a little bit of an overlap there towards the end where I was checking on the final of the FPO and the MPOs coming in, and then had to check on MA1 for Tim, MA2 for Mark, had to check FPO for Kristen and Ola and Terry, and like you said, everyone else. And then check the MPOs and going back and forth between the two tournaments. So it was a lot of fun. If you don't follow the fantasy league, definitely check those out. We've got a couple more to do. Vote on the polls, and you too could be entered in to win a $10 gift card.
Well, and with that too, Darrell, when it comes to those watching the PDGA live, I remember telling you you were at the Edmonton Open and I didn't get to go to that tournament, but I was constantly watching you. Did you find some excitement in watching it through PDGA live?
Yeah, because you don't have to refresh. You don't have to drag down and swipe and all that. It does update automatically. So, you get the real-time scores, right? Sometimes when you see the score doesn't get updated for a while and you're thinking, is it a par 5? Is it a long par 4? Did he go OB? Like, how many strokes is he taking? Why is it not updated yet? This is going to be a bad number. And then eventually it catches up. So, yeah, it's good.
Well, that was a cool thing. And one of the things I found too, just to throw out there while we're talking about it, was that there was an option when you went to PDGA Live to say that you were a volunteer scorekeeper. So on the last day, I was volunteering as a caddy for our good buddy Mark Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did that, I chose that option. And then it allows you to say, kind of do the full record keeping to say, okay, that first row was on the fairway. Yeah.
Yeah, you see that on some not on every person, but on some people it will say throw in from 15 feet for birdie. And I wondered why they were there. I thought it may have been the like the scorekeepers for the card, but maybe that was the case. Maybe that was because you were keeping track of your the caddy was actually keeping track. So
yes, and that's what I did.
Mike did just point out in the chat there, Brock Cicchetti, vice president of Edgar, was also out at the Rip out at Nationals. Yeah. And he did good as well.
Oh, he definitely.
And there were quite a few people. I mean, we can't be here all night shouting everybody out, but there were definitely a lot of Edgar representatives out there.
Yeah, I think at one point the count was maybe even 66 of the people at the tournament were from the Edmonton area. So,
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get on to the pro update, Jeremy.
Well, right before that, we should say we've got 2 more A tiers left to go. So pay attention for that. We got the Discmania Open happening October 4th to 6th, and that one's on Prince Edward Island. Registration closes on Friday, and there are still some spots available from what I could see. And the one thing I found interesting, Darrell, is that out of all the people registered so far, the only names I know at the moment are Ezra Lockington and Karen Martell. So you know what that means. We are going to learn about a whole bunch of awesome pro players from the actual East Coast.
Yeah, and that's the whole goal of our podcast and everything that we do is promoting Canadian players, names that you've never heard of. Hopefully, you'll have heard of them and you'll look out for them in the future.
Yeah.
Who heard of Rebecca Dunn before she was on our podcast, Jeremy?
I think a whole lot of people,
quite a
but
few people,
even
actually.
more now. So yeah, we don't have much for a DGPT update, but we did want to let you know that both Thomas Gilbert and Sofia Donnecke are headed down, and they're actually there right now at the Green Mountain Challenge courses in Vermont. And that's a pro tour playoff event.
Yeah.
And then after that, pretty much most of our Canadian pros are going to be getting ready to go down to Australia for the WIFDIF championships in October.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well,
let's give the people what they're here for, Jeremy.
All right. Our first guest is the highest rated Canadian FPO player with a 947 rating. She won the BC Open earlier this year and made a splash at the Disc Golf Pro Tour when she finished third at the Portland Open. Her most recent win was this past weekend in Clearwater. Let's welcome our Canadian Nationals FPO winner, Sofia Donnecke, to the show. Well, I think we almost see her there.
Hey, Sofia, how are
you? Are we doing vertical or landscape?
Landscape.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good. How are you guys?
Really, really good.
Yeah.
If you look behind Darrell, you can see we've got our 250 subscriber celebration going on at the same time.
Yeah. Congrats. That's a big milestone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet. We were working towards it a long time. We'll make sure not to pump it up too early next time when we go for our next big milestone.
Seems like we were talking about it for months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here you are.
There we go. Well, congratulations on the big win at Nationals this past weekend. Are you still kind of floating on cloud nine? How are you feeling right now?
I'm still pretty happy. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll always be happy about that. Obviously, but yeah, no, it's sort of like, okay, like that's just been the cherry on top for my season. And like everything from here on out is just, yeah, like I feel great. Just go out and have some fun for the rest of the events. And no, I feel like, I've been just happy about it for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to know, like, for somebody who wins an event and then you have to go and play another event the next weekend, like how much time do you give yourself to be happy and think about that event before you have to like kind of put that at the back of your mind and think, okay, now I need to concentrate on the next tournament?
Right. So, I mean, for me, since I'm not playing tournaments every weekend, feels a bit more like, oh, I'm not like burnt out or tired or anything, right? So I was just like, I had a red-eye flight to Vermont, and then I picked up my rental car and drove straight to the course, and I was just happy the whole time, just like in a good mood. And like then playing in Vermont when the leaves are just starting to change color, it's just like it's like a magical place. So it's So and the body feels good. I wasn't too tired after a full tournament and practice week at Clearwater. So yeah, no, it wasn't too hard to get myself back on the course. But obviously just having great feelings the whole time and just being like, oh, now I get to play here too. And just all around good vibes. So it's been nice.
Yeah, that's
definitely
fantastic.
Makes that red-eye trip and the fact that you have to play, well, not you have to play, but it's not like it's a burden, but the fact that you have to play another tournament makes it a lot easier when you can ride that wave of, oh yeah, I'm the Canadian national champion, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So now I just get to hang out in Vermont and play some really nice courses. So
yeah,
right. And we're not quite at the point, or maybe you can tell us, are we at the point where when you got off the airplane, there were people waiting for you with discs in hand and markers and, hey,
exactly.
Canadian, Sophia just got off the plane. Can you sign this?
Yeah, they had to rope off a path for me to get into my car. So
were you blinded by all the flash photography and everything like that?
yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, we were surprised when you said rental car. We thought the limo would have been there just ready to pick you up and everything.
Yeah, rental
Somebody's
car.
not doing their job. That's what that is.
Exactly. Come on, Canada.
Yeah, there you go. Well, one of the things, Sophia, about your win this past weekend was it was pretty significant because you were the first Canadian FPO to win Canadian Nationals in 9 years. The last winner was Elaine King. And was that new news to you, or did you kind of know that pressure was out there when the tournament started?
Yeah, so I didn't know, like the week in going into the tournament, I started to learn more and more about sort of this long streak of non-Canadian players. I more just thought it was like interesting because in Europe you have to be a citizen to compete for a national title. So it's different in Canada. It's more like the Canadian Open, right? I've heard some people refer to it as maybe it's more like the Canadian Open, but it does feel like a national championship because it's just like it was mostly Canadians, right? But yeah, it was news to me there that it was 9 years, but I did know that there was like internationals that had taken the title in the past.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we had heard even talking with some of the other Canadian FPO players that was one of their goals. They were happy to have all the US players up and always excited because everybody enjoys playing with each other. But at the same time, there was that hope and that dream that a Canadian would win this year. And it was great that you were able to do that.
Yeah, it actually put some pressure on for sure. Like, not that like we were rooting against anyone, but it was like,
Yeah.
okay, one of us Canadians has got to do it. Like, that would be like, we need to do this. So there was a bit of extra pressure there. Me and Colleen were doing pretty good, but we were definitely like, we want Taylor to play well, obviously, but we wanted a Canadian to bring home the win this weekend. And so yeah, there was some extra pressure, and it was cool to execute when I needed to. So
Definitely. Well, I was lucky enough to be at Nationals, as you know, and I was even luckier that the MA40 division was playing directly after the FPOs on the same courses. So I was able to watch all of the FPOs tee off each morning. I was able to get video, and I'll tell you, that was like one of the highlights of my tournament. You can ask me how I played, and I'll tell you I had fun. But what I enjoyed more was watching all of you tee off in the mornings and that. So it was your first Canadian Nationals tournament. What were some of the things that you enjoyed about it?
Yeah, so well, first of all, Clearwater was amazing, and I mean, all the courses were pretty awesome. And I mean, I got there on Sunday, I think, and Brett was going to travel with me, my partner, but he ended up having to stay back. So I ended up being up there on my own camping, which is fine. There's other people around eventually, but yeah, I got to like hang out with all these awesome people like Nicoletta and GMAC, and just sort of immerse myself in the space, the community, and like the nearby like attractions. Like I actually didn't go to any waterfalls, but I did some bike rides and I did some hiking with Julie Mullins, and so like outside of disc golf, it was just a phenomenal week alone. So, and then the ski hill, I think, is one of my favorite courses in the country. I mean, I've played only in BC, so but I can say in the country because out of all the courses in Canada, like that is like up there for me for sure. It's just a nice mix of wooded and open and lots of elevation, and it's just stunning. And then Lucaria, like I love golf course golf, so it was cool to see what Dennis did with the space there. So yeah, I thought it was a phenomenal tournament, and it was cool to have all the Canadians gather on the opening ceremonies and just sort of see the faces from like around the country. It's cool to have everyone in one space and connect with people that sure you connect with in the odd tournament or something, but it was like it felt like a big portion of the community was there. and it was like in the spirit of like celebrating disc golf as a country. So it was really cool.
Yeah. And I would think too, with you being there from Sunday, you really got a whole week's worth of an experience as opposed to just a few days, and really were immersed in it. And you'd mentioned Nicoletta there, and when we do our fantasy picks and that type of thing, sometimes Nicoletta's name comes up and it's just Nicoletta. That's it. There's no last name. There's no nothing. And Darrell and I were like, who is this person? And then I got a chance to meet Nicoletta, and she is a phenom, amazing. Built the Clearwater ski hill course, which I learned, her and GMAC, they built that course. And then
they built the tee pads for the course.
Oh, the tee pads for the course.
Which is
okay.
Like, and they were like lugging up those stones and stuff. The course has been there for some time. I think Dennis and Christine set it up like in the 2010s, or I might be, I don't know the exact fact, but it was in rough shape. Right. And then I think they kind of revitalized it, Nicoletta and GMAC. They spent a lot of hours, and those tee pads are really cool. And like when you realize, like, you do the hike up to your tee pad and you're exhausted, right? It's like so steep. You're like, you're walking on the balls of your feet, right?
Yes.
Imagine doing that with like, I don't know how many paver stones there are per tee pad, but like they carried those up there. You can't bring a truck all the way up there. So it's, that was a lot of labor, and there's more space to expand it in the future. But right now it's a pretty awesome course. But they put a lot in there, and honestly, Clearwater is like a great place to be as a disc golfer in the summer. I'm like, oh, maybe do like a few weeks up there and train or something. But it's a pretty sweet spot.
Yeah, and definitely I would think was giving you the chance to play both an open golf course and then some woods, some elevation, so many different types of holes that were at the ski hill.
The ski hill it actually reminded me a little bit of like the European Open monster course, a bit smaller. The holes were shorter, but the same type of narrow fairways. But the thing is, it's not just a wooded course in the sense that there's trees in front of you and you got to like pick some random line. There's cleared like lines that you need to throw, and there's clear defined fairways. So it's like, it's really cool because it's tight, but it's fair. So
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sofia, when we were looking at that course and looking at what you did to that course in the one round that you played it, you managed to get 2 eagles on the ski hill. And I just kind of wanted to touch on both of those. So the first one was on hole 5, which was the only par 5 on the ski hill. And the other was on hole 12. So if we start with that par 5, it's a 560-foot hole. And I know some of those distances maybe don't seem like a lot to some players, but what they got to remember is that this is up a side hill, and it's not just slightly up a side hill, it's quite up a side hill. And there's a Mando 100 feet off the tee or so. So do you remember, or did you just lace that first shot? How did it all work?
Yeah, it's actually interesting because during the practice rounds, I can describe the hole a bit. So you're sitting on a tee pad. There's a Mando, like you said, 100 and something feet out. But it's not just one Mando tree. It's like a forest on the left, and then there's 2 trees, like maybe 20 or 10, 15 feet from the forest, and then nice. And then another.
Thank you for celebrating with us.
10 feet, woo! 10 feet to the right is the Mando tree, right? So it's not like you're just throwing one side of the Mando. You got to hit a gap on one side of the Mando. I'd been throwing into the ground because the ground it all elevates in front of you. So in practice, I was like, okay, well, in theory, if I could get over that ditch that's after the Mando, then I could throw an upshot. And then I practiced an upshot from there, and I like yeeted it into the long grass, like way right. But like I knew in theory there was like a 3 in there if you just threw 2 good shots. And I said, I think this is one of my favorite holes on this course. And I think like it's a hard par 4, but a soft par 5. So like the eagle, I didn't realize it was an eagle. I thought I had a birdie, and then they changed the par. So, but it was I threw a great shot off the tee. I got over the ditch, and then I threw a spike hyzer up the hill with like a destroyer, and it was like maybe 18 feet down the hill from the basket, and then I made the putt. So yeah, it was a hole that like I had in my head how I needed to play it, and then I finally actually executed it on the day. I didn't do it in practice.
Well, that's awesome that you hit that one. You hit the one on 12, which also was maybe a bit of a softer one, but there was a scary OB carry, and if you didn't get it, that OB carry, you were pretty much starting back from the tee pad. So that was amazing that you nailed that one.
Yeah, I knew I could get over the OB. I just didn't mean to throw it that left and that close. But I basically hit like this path, like to the left, right by the OB, but it scooted up a bit, and then I made a pretty good putt over a bush for the eagle. But I also thought, actually, no, I knew that was a 4. But, yeah. But well, Taylor was close too. I think she got that one too, maybe. I think she put it close on that hole, maybe. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to run this too, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Fun. And then if we go back a little bit just to Lucaria, when you started in round 1, your round wasn't maybe as great as you want to be, although it was a -4, which it's below par. That's a great round in my mind. But then all of a sudden in the 3rd round, you turned it around and you put it down to a -8. So you got 4 extra strokes. Was there something that you learned from the first day? I know you've done a lot of practice, or that you were able to change for that 3rd round?
Yeah, so like I knew what I needed to do on every hole, although there's a couple spots where I like made one decision differently, but I was just not throwing and putting, like it wasn't clicking yet. And sometimes you practice and you feel good, and then you get to the tournament and your brain turns on or something different, like the focus isn't quite there. So I think just getting into the tournament rhythm was like, I obviously had like some pressure on myself for the event. So just sort of like learning how to play with that next to you and not like trying to fight it. So I think it took me a while to warm up, but then the back 9, I think I shot like I had a good score in the back 9 of my first round. And then the last round, I felt like a bit more loose, a bit more comfortable, and really focused. I think that when the pressure turns on like that, like I was 2 back from Taylor, I was like, okay, I just got to keep pushing and executing every shot. And I just felt really focused and was able to just, line up a shot and execute it. And that's what you need to do. You can't do anything more than that. And then if your opponent makes a mistake, then you just got to keep pressing on and try to keep in a rhythm and not get too outside of yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned about Taylor there. You having Taylor and Colleen and Julie on that card with you, battling with you. Did you feel that pressure?
Definitely. So I usually just try and not focus on other people's scores, especially on like bigger pro tour events where like like you're just trying to have a good round, because there could be anyone else like having really hot rounds. But I knew the people on my card were the people to like keep a track of, and I knew there was someone I needed to catch, like Taylor. So I was in my head, I knew like how far up she was from me. I didn't know like the numbers. I don't worry about the numbers, but like at one point I think I was 3 strokes back, and then in the back 9 we got to within the same, and then I took a lead, and then so I knew where she was at. So that's unusual. Usually I don't focus too much on other people, but it was fun. It was really fun to like play off each other. I think we were going at it pretty hard in the front 9 there, so that was cool.
Yeah. No, and we can't wait till Matt and Andre get the Park Pro coverage out. We know it takes a few months for them to get editing, but it's going to be a great tournament to watch. And it was really interesting to say, hey, I was watching from a distance, or I was in the background seeing that, and now I'm going to see what that translates into when they do their magic and they put it all together. Now, I think
it's fun.
Yeah.
They were like really stoked after, because like it's like you don't have that many crazy FPO battles between 3 like players like that, at least in like the tournaments in Canada. Like our field is getting stronger and stronger, and this is like a sign of that. But it's cool to have that kind of like 3-way battle so tight.
Yeah.
And have it on film. So
for sure. Now, Sofia, we're not going to keep you much longer because we have a jam-packed episode. And we said we'd only take 20 minutes of your time, but I did want to give Darrell a chance to say a couple things too.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Unfortunately, I was not able to make it out there, but
Yeah.
a lot of people say that they have a J and they like the J. Some people even say they have a Sofia Donnecke J. But
There you go.
do they have a signed Sofia Donnecke J? No, they don't. Well, maybe some people do. I'm sure you signed a few. Yeah, I'm sure you signed a few over the weekend, but there you go. Should I throw it or should I just leave it there on display?
You can get another one. I'll sign it.
There you go. That's a good answer.
And speaking of that, do you still have a lot of discs on hand if people run into you?
No, I don't. Okay,
That's a good thing.
I have Team Canada discs on hand. Me and Stu have a couple left, so you can support us for the trip to Australia. So more Canada themed disc golf, which is cool. So we have a few Innova like destroyers and I think a couple Wraiths and Rock 3s and stuff like that. So if you're interested, we have those. And then the Innova J, that's all like through Innova now. So I don't have any more personal ones. I sold them all. I know next time I get a tour series, I'll ask for more sent to me.
Right.
That next time.
No, that's
Do you think you'll be getting one for nationals?
I don't know. I haven't like talked to them about that.
Nobody said anything yet. Okay.
No.
We'll see. Well, speaking of Innova, it's probably a good chance here too, just as we wrap up. Did you want to take a moment to shout out your sponsors or anything?
Yeah, Innova. I mean, my J, like I threw it a lot on the weekend and it's been great. And so is like all my discs. I mean, they're as good as they get, right? Those Innova molds. And then I'd also want to thank Emerald City Discs, a shop in Seattle who I'm on their team and they support me. And yeah, it's cool to be able to be on this journey and live this life. So thank you. Yeah.
And we're loving watching it too, Sofia. So keep it up and have a great tournament at Green Mountain Challenge. Enjoy those red, orange, and yellow leaves on those maples. I'm sure you're getting to see. So
yeah. Thank you.
I just want to quickly shout out because somebody in the chat said I'm always on the lookout for mirages. Hot take. Best Innova disc. Have you ever thrown a Mirage?
I think I've heard of that disc. I have not thrown one though.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up. There's also one that Bradley Williams gave me a disc to sidearm today, and I parked hole 1 at Brewster. So I don't remember what disc that was. But there's a couple discs out there, and I think in the off season, I'm definitely open to trying some new things, and for now my bag is set, but I need to explore a bit because my molds are pretty simple. It
seems to be working for you.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's working.
Keep it simple is good. Yeah, but it's fun to see what's out there.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much, Sofia. It was great talking to you, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys, and
perfect.
Have a good night.
Thank you for joining.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There you go, Jeremy. That's the first guest down.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep it tight to 20 minutes like that, but it's good to respect their time. But there's so much we could talk to about Sofia.
Oh yeah,
so much.
We've had her on the podcast before. It's hard not to delve too deep into her mindset and her back, her discs, her play style, which courses she likes, all that type of thing. But we need to keep this train rolling, Jeremy.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us who we got next?
Sounds good. Okay, our next guest is having one heck of a 2024 disc golf season. She won the USWDGC this year at the FJ18 category. She won the long drive competition at Junior Worlds and placed third in the FJ18 division. She's recently made the jump up to the FPO division. Just this past weekend, she won first place at the Innova Rip. We're excited to have Rebecca Dawn on the show with us. And she got to be on the best podcast in Canada. Hey, Rebecca, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. Thank you
Yeah,
for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you back on the
Yeah,
show
no problem.
again for another time. So we wanted to start by congratulating you on your big FPO win at the RIP this past weekend. And now that a few days have passed, how are you feeling? Are you still pretty positive, or what's going on?
Yeah, yeah, it was a crazy weekend. So much happened, and I've never like it was just so crazy. It was so exciting what happened, and I'm still amazed at what happened because it's never nothing like this has like really happened before, like this big. I think this was probably one of the most exciting tournaments I've had. And I'm still super excited about it, but I mean, a little less because on Monday I went straight back to school. So it's like going from a really fun tournament going back to high school the next day. So that kind of took it down a little bit, but it's still really awesome.
You're having the teachers telling you these things and all that, and you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking, do you know what I just did on the weekend?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just in my own little world thinking back to the weekend.
Yeah. Did everybody at your school, like, did they, obviously they must, your friends you must have told, did they know what happened?
Yeah, a few of my close friends knew, and then some of the teachers are nice supporters for me, so they were really excited for me, which was nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I would say probably, Rebecca, by the end of the, season here, and as you get into next year, you're probably going to have students coming out to watch your tournaments and everything else. Maybe a few people and your close friends know, and a couple of teachers, but I'm sure the whole school is going to be aware by the time the season's done next year. So
yeah, we'll see. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It'll be part of the, when they have parents fill out the field trip forms, it's going to be to go watch Rebecca play a disc golf tournament.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
That'd be awesome. So we weren't able to get out to the East Coast there. We weren't able to get out to this year's event. Jeremy was out at Nationals. I wasn't able to get out there, but we were following along on PDGA Live. And we just wanted to kind of get your firsthand experience of how the event went from your perspective. So to start with, did you get a chance to participate in any of the extra events that beyond the tournament?
Yeah, so I knew there was a Glowy Night and Crokinole tournament. I was signed up for the Glowy Night because I was like, that would just be super fun.
Yeah.
But I ended up going home after the round because it was a pretty long round. There are a few backups, and everyone else part of like our group that weekend that hung out, they were going back too, and I was like, I'm exhausted and tomorrow's a big day. I'm probably just gonna go home and rest now. So I didn't get to play, but I still got the disc, which is like still really great. I mean, it was $30 to play, so it's like, I mean, I get a disc out of it, and a disc is probably worth $30 too. So it was like, it's fine if I don't play. It would have been super fun, but I just went home and chilled out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you have a chance to play the Crokinole tournament or see any of those events that were going on?
No, I didn't. It all happened on Saturday night, and I think we left around like 6. We left the course around 6, and we were staying at a family friend's house 45 minutes from the course, and I knew that it was probably going to be a late night if I stayed, so my sister, Leah, she stayed for the Crokinole because she had a friend and they were partners. So she stayed for that, and it sounded very fun. But yeah, I was glad I went home and just chilled because I was exhausted.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, see how different the weekend could have been if you stayed and didn't get your rest and didn't get your your proper recovery for the next day. So you made the right decision, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, and Rebecca, you've played out at Hope Goat before. We know because it's kind of in the area, I think, at least that part of Ontario where you're from.
Yeah.
But my question to you is going to be, with all the changes that Darrell had made to kind of make it a little more competitive for the RIP, was there some significant changes to the FPO layout, and what did you think about them?
Yeah, so I played an event here last year, and I mean, the tournament was crazy. It was like 60-kilometer winds and raining the whole time. So like the tournament wasn't like the greatest conditions. I'm trying to think back to that old layout because I think a lot of the back nine has changed. But for this tournament, I came for a practice round mid-August, and then I came on Thursday to play, and then we did the tournament Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I really like it. I love the FPO layout. I think it's like really fair. I didn't keep score during my practice rounds, but like I was estimating like even to +4 would be really good, and it was really good. But I really liked it. I think it also suits my game, so that's another bonus. But I think it's really fair. It's like we switch between the like middle tee pads and gold tee pads, so we're sometimes playing the same as the MPO, but sometimes shorter tee pads. But I think it was really good, and some adjusted pars, which made it good too.
Right. So two questions I have for you there. When you say you like the course because it suits your game, what would you class as your game? Like what makes your game good on that course?
Yeah, I think it's like the longer drives.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say I'm good at controlled distance, like 350 feet to like 360, 370. I think controlled distance is one of my good skills. And yeah, not really tight woods. Like when we go into the woods, like there's still a solid fairway with clear gaps to hit. It's not like really, really tight where you're shaping lines really specifically. Like I think the longer drives and then pretty open fairways, I would say, I think.
Yeah. So 350, 360, that's two of our drives, Jeremy.
Yeah. And the other part that I really kind of honed in on there was the fact when, Rebecca, you said that it was controlled. Because if I ever get that distance, let me tell you, there's no control.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is with me, and it's like same with my caddy, my brother-in-law, Joey, we're both agreeing that like our max distance is the same as our controlled distance. So if I'm going for like in the long drive at Junior Worlds, I was just throwing like a controlled shot, and that was like the farthest I could go. So it's not a bad thing. I'm just probably not gonna do like my max distance isn't very different than my controlled distance. So yeah, that's kind of how I do it. But yeah.
Well, Rebecca, we wanted to maybe ask you about what your favorite hole is, but I think we're going to be a little biased here because we think maybe your favorite hole might be hole 3. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what was happening on that one?
Yeah, that was crazy. I did not expect to birdie that hole all 3 rounds. It was like every time going up to the tee, I was like, okay, just get it through the gap and see what happens. And I was like, it's 240 feet, I think, and I was throwing a Hawkeye. So I was like, I'm just going to throw this like 80% and just hope to get through the gap and then blast through the blast past the basket if I have to. So the first round, I ended up skipping on top of the logs, like that were the border. I skipped on top, so that was like the closest I could have gotten. So I was parked for that one. So I barely got over the log to bring me inbounds. And then round 2, I was like 2 feet low of the basket for an ace. And then round 3, Jeff Panis, he was taking a video and we did like a little interview before I was throwing, and he's like, so you missed it by like 2 feet yesterday. Do you think you can get the ace today? And I was like, I think so, maybe. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, I'm just hoping to get through these trees. Like, this is a crazy gap to hit. I'm just like throw and hope for the best, honestly, which might not be the best mindset. But I was like, yeah, I'll try to hit the Mando. And then I hit dead center for ace and it spit out. But like, I was not expecting that. It was a little crazy. So yeah, getting the birdie on that all 3 rounds, that was very surprising, I will say.
Yeah, that was amazing. For people that want to check it out, go and follow Innova Wombat. Scroll down on his page there. You can see it. You see round 2 and then that round 3. Yeah, that should have stuck in.
Yeah. It was close.
Well,
yeah.
So, Rebecca, that's kind of the nice holes on the course. But what I want to throw at you is that there were some birdies out there for a lot of the players, but it was really easy to get some bogeys too. And I hate to say it, it wasn't you, but there were some other people out there that were even getting double digits on a couple holes. And when I was looking, it looked like 13 and 16 were 2 of the beasts out there. What was it about those holes?
Yeah, so hole 13 is it's like over 700 feet. So you are throwing, you need to throw straight like 230 feet and have it go to the left. So it's like a tunnel. There's trees on both sides. So if you can get it straight and go to the left, then you are into an open field. And that open field is, it's an island out there. So there's like, it's an island where it's like you're throwing from back here and you throw and go to a hyzer, and then there's a whole field out here, and the basket, there's an island, but it's not really an island. There's like a strip of grass over here that's inbounds, and it's a 340-foot carry over OB. So if you can't make that, then you need to throw, like purposefully throw out of bounds over the path, and then you'll get your, like, you'll put your disc over there, and then you can throw from where you went out of bounds on the path. Right. So that hole was very punishing because first you have to make like the initial gap and go left. If you're in the trees, then you have to lay it up because there's OB. So first you need to get your drive, and then even if you get through the gap and a little to the left, you could still be like 400 feet out from the island itself. So then you might have to lay up to the edge of OB and still throw a 340-foot hyzer. And the island's probably like 50 feet diameter.
Okay. Right.
So if you didn't cross in, then you're just throwing that again and again. And so some people wouldn't ever cross over OB and they wouldn't go over the path to the side. So they would just keep throwing and throwing and throwing. And then even if you stick the island, it's still like a big putt that you still need to make. So that was a very tough one with the OB rules. I heard a lot of people would have rather have it hazard.
Right.
So yeah, I still don't know how I feel. I do like the challenge of OB, just because like you have to be very smart about it. If you can't make like a 360-foot hyzer, then you have to play smart. You have to lay it up 20 feet in front of you if you have to. Right. Yeah, I liked that hole. It was very tough, but I liked that tough part of it, I will say.
I'm guessing some of those people that wished that it was hazard were some of those people that were taking 10s and 11s on it.
And I'm hearing Darrell on this is I'd be taking 20s, I think, or something like that.
17 wouldn't be anything.
Yeah.
So there were 11 FPOs on the event. 5 of them were from the US. Some of those players were even on the Pro Tour. How did it feel not only stepping up on that podium, but also having 2 fellow Canadians up there with you as well?
It was crazy. Like I never would have pictured this to happen. It was like I was going into this event as one of the featured players, and I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. Like, I'm a featured player with Chantel and Isaac and Gannon. And I was like, this is kind of funny because I don't think I'm going to do that great. Like, I'm going to be really happy if I make cash line. So that would be top 5. And so going into the event, I was like, okay, this would be a really good event for you to like try to get top 5, make cash. Then that'll be like that'll be really good finish for being one of the featured players. And so it never crossed my mind that I would win, because I mean, initially Paige was signed up and Chantel is there and Raven and all these girls that I know are really good and are on tour. It's like, I've small chance I'm gonna beat them was my mindset going into it. So I was like, just try to come top 5 and you'll be good. So having it finish that way was just like so weird. I can't even believe it still. It's like after the first round I was up by 3 and I was like, this is a good start. Like, this is you have plenty of strokes with 5th place, so you should be able to like keep it up and finish cash line still. So I was just like, cash line was on my mind. And then after round 2, I was like, okay, I have 10 strokes now. This is terrifying, but maybe like, I guess I could actually do this. It was like mind blowing. It didn't really register. And after round 2, I was like, okay, I have 10 strokes. So my word, this is terrifying because I don't want to blow this up because like I said it in my post, it's like when people look at the scores and they see you have 10 strokes, it's like, oh, they have that tournament. Like it's locked in. Which is like, I felt so much pressure on myself. It's like, okay, I have 10 strokes. Like, I shouldn't blow this up. I can't blow this up. Like, this is my chance. And I was like a little stressed out all night and in the morning. But after the first few holes of round 3, especially after the tee shot, it was like, okay, I can actually throw. Because that was like, my confidence was way down going into it. It was like, 10 strokes, like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can throw. And I had to watch videos from the day before to assure myself, like, you know how to throw a disc, you can do it. And it's just like talking myself through it. So after the first tee shot, I was like, okay, that was a really good tee shot. Just keep it going and we'll see what happens. But yeah, after the first few holes, it was like, okay, I'm doing good. I feel good. I got like, my putting's feeling good. My driving's good. I think I can do this. And my confidence went up again after the first few holes. It's like, okay, I can do this. I have like a good cushion. So the 10 strokes was comfortable when I was playing, but when I was like waiting for the last round to happen, it was terrifying.
That's crazy. So I just wanted
it was great.
We often when we have pros on, we like to get into their mindset and ask them questions about how pros deal with things like that. And I kind of wanted to see how it shifted for you from like when you were competing in FJ18. Was your mindset any different then? Were you thinking, okay, I've got a chance to win this. I should be winning this. I'm better than my competition. Whereas when you go into this FPO event, you're saying, oh, well, if I make cash, I'm okay. Like, you had a different mindset. You weren't expecting to win. Like, that wasn't your goal. How do you switch your mind from playing FJ18 to playing FPO?
Yeah, I think with FJ18, a lot of them, I mean, it's also just different playing with kids like my age. That's the different part. I would say going into FJ18, I had more confidence that I could perform well. Like, our ratings were around each other, and like, I knew these girls and I knew our skill levels were close. And so I guess it's hard to see the difference between my confidence would go up or like my expectation of myself would go up. So for Junior Worlds, I was just going there and I was just excited to have fun and like have a blast with all the other girls there. And I think my expectations went up after the first few days of like on lead card. It's like, okay, I can actually have a shot at this. I can do this. But it was also just like more chill playing with girls your age. Like, it was like, we're kids. It didn't feel as professional, I would say, because you're not playing for money yet. You're still in the junior division. So I would say, it's hard to really see the difference in my mindset. I'm still figuring out how my mind, like, changes in these situations, but I think with like FJ18 compared to FPO, I don't have as much expectation in myself in FPO, but I have there's like, it's more of like a professional thing. Like the atmosphere is more professional. I'm playing with like older women, like who are adults, and you're actually going for money. So I think my mindset is locked in on like the professional part, like having good etiquette and just like being a good card mate. Like I'm always a good card mate, but like the professional aspect of it, I think that's the main difference. And I don't know. It might be like in FPO, maybe I played better because I didn't have as much expectation on myself going into it. It's like, hey, these girls have been playing much longer than I have. You are just like, this is your second tournament as like an official professional. You can win money, which would be great, but there's no expectation on myself.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going everywhere with this. I'm trying to figure it out in my mind.
That's kind of the mindset that I was expecting you to say. Is that kind of when you were in FJ18, you had that, okay, I've got to win. I can win this. This is my tournament to win.
Yeah.
Whereas when you went into FPO, you were more relaxed. You were like, okay, well, if I get fifth, you know, or whatever, fifth was the cash line, then that's a great tournament there. And actually you played better. And then you finally got to that point where you're like, well, I can actually do this. So I just wanted to see if you could make the switch from having no pressure and playing great versus having the pressure and not playing great, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So the last time we talked to you, we mentioned you mentioned that you were going back to school and also playing some FPO events. And we see that coming up in October, you've got the Throw Pink event that you're going to be playing in.
Yeah.
How excited are you for that event? Because then you'll get a chance to go back and play with some other big FPO names, including your Innova mom, Jen Allen.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. The past few days, my mom has been like figuring out how the trip is gonna work, and it's so surreal because like I found out that the Innova Rip was a qualifier on Friday. I was like, oh, there's a spot for this? Like, that's crazy. I did not expect there was like even a chance I would be able to go. And then when I ended up winning, Mom's like, so does this mean we're going to South Carolina? It's like, I guess so. Like, yeah, that would be awesome. So, the plan right now is I'll be flying out and then I'll be staying with Ellie Ezra at like their campground. So I'm so excited. I think it's gonna be a week of just so much fun, meeting people on tour and doing stuff with Innova. A few practice rounds, I think, is the plan. And just like being in the FPO division and seeing all the other big names, it's like, wow, this is crazy. And like, I'm not expecting anything out of this because these are such big names, but I will say it gives me confidence that I can do pretty good. I think like from this past weekend, winning that gave me a lot of confidence in like, okay, this could actually be a possible career. This could actually work out. I did good, and I have like, it helped me see my potential.
Yeah.
So going into Throw Pink, I'm so excited. I'm excited to see how I'll play at Winthrop because that's a crazy course. And I'm just so excited to meet so many new people out there and just have a blast because it seems like it's going to be an awesome week out there. I'm so excited.
I'm sure it will be. Yeah. If you just go in with the mindset that you're just going to make cash, I'm sure you'll do fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, we're going to be so excited to watch it there, Rebecca. And you did mention Innova, so we do have to, unfortunately, wrap up with you. But do you want to take a moment there to kind of shout out any of your sponsors?
Yeah, so T3, it's just, we're fun, vibing little team out in Ontario. We just support each other, have lots of fun. They're an awesome team. And obviously Innova as my main sponsor. They're great. This is my first year with them, and building the bag was so easy, and the support from the team is it's incredible. It's wild how they make the whole team seem like a family, especially at Junior Worlds, seeing all the other juniors. So Innova's just so good. I love them. Those are my 2 sponsors right now. They're my main sponsors.
While we're just talking about this, we're going to squeeze in one question from the chat here. We've got the Edmonton Disc Golf Association president. He has a question for you. I'm just going to get it up on stream here for you. He wants to know, what discs were your workhorses this weekend?
Yeah, so I threw my turn in grass on Thursday practice round. So that would have been my main disc, I think. But I had my Blue Star Wraith. That was definitely my workhorse for all those like long shots, long straight controlled distance shots. I use my Wraith, and on like even big hyzer shots, I use my Wraith. So that was like my main disc that I used a lot, and obviously my purple Mako 3. There's a lot of clips of me throwing that one. I mean, all my discs are blue and purple, but there's that purple Mako 3 that I used a lot for any shots of like 250 to 300 feet. The nice turnover or straight shot, I used my Mako 3. So yeah, the Wraith and Mako 3 were definitely my workhorses.
Perfect. And then Darrell Banks in the chat here just put in, what about the Hawkeye on 3? But we already mentioned that. So yeah.
Yep. The Hawkeye was definitely the fairway driver of the weekend. Yep. I used that a lot too. Yeah. Mako 3, Hawkeye, Wraith. It's my set.
Well, I'm hoping big things from this Hawkeye, because I just got a Hawkeye. I haven't thrown it yet, but I will. I'm sure I'll be loving it.
It's a good one.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, Rebecca, we can't wait to watch you at Throw Pink, and Canada's going to be rooting for you, and it's going to be all these good vibes drifting down to South Carolina from up north. So we're so excited for you. So have a great time at that tournament, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'll see you later.
Okay.
We should just say, if people want to hear more about Rebecca, go back and watch episode 36, and you'll find out why Jen Allen's your Innova mom.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, Rebecca.
Yeah, no problem. See ya.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Darrell, I just love our guests. They're the best.
Awesome.
And we got another great guest coming up too.
Yeah, we got to keep rolling. We've had him in the lobby for a while.
And we appreciate his patience. So our next guest does so many things, including making regular appearance on the Chain Out podcast. He designs courses with Tin Lid Disc Golf. He represents Innova Canada. He owns the Haute Goat Disc Golf course, and most recently brought a number of Disc Golf Pro Tour pros up to Canada to participate at the RIP. We're happy to have Darrell Banks back on the show.
We are bringing him in.
All right. Hey, Darrell, welcome back to the show.
Thanks again. Happy to be back for a bit.
Sorry we kept you so long, but we were just having such a great conversation with Rebecca.
Well, she is the star that you should be having the conversation with.
So. Yeah, and that's it. I think a lot of people, you've been watching her play for quite a while. We've had a chance to see her play this year, but I'm thinking that star is just rising and getting brighter every day. And by next year, if people don't know who she is now, they're all going to know for sure.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So we talked to you a little bit earlier this week, and you were kind of finally wrapping up everything from the weekend. Have you gotten back to some sort of regular sleep routine? Are you feeling back to normal yet?
I'm close today, but like even today I was doing payouts until about 3:00 this afternoon, and between other emails and things I had to catch up on. So it's just all wrapping up, paying the bills, sending out the money.
Gotcha. Well, and as you saw, I think you were kind of looking there. Yeah, there's a message from Kevin King.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. So as you saw there too, as we were talking to Rebecca, she just had all positive things to say about the event. But we wanted to maybe get a little bit of a recap on the RIP from your perspective. And when you were last on the show, there was a long list of pros that were expected to come up for the event. And it looks like everybody made it, from Gannon to Ezra to Isaac to Paige. Was it just as wonderful as you were expecting, or did you have even more since the last time we talked?
It turned out better than I was expecting. Like, we nailed it for weather all weekend. It was hot and sunny, not too windy, so perfect playing conditions. The pros all came out, as you mentioned, all the ones you mentioned, plus Luke Taylor, plus Cal Lundquist, Jeremy Colling, and
Philo
was there doing his thing. So, like, it was perfect, and everyone appreciated it. And since they all came, these spectators came out. There were a ton of spectators out there. So,
did you get a kind of count, maybe, Darrell, on or an estimate on how many spectators came out for the event?
Not yet. I haven't had a chance to look through all the receipts as far as ticket sales, and we gave a lot of tickets away through club sponsorships and the like. But we're thinking that the gallery following was 200 to 300 people at times. And that many were kicking around the property. So
that's pretty impressive. I don't know if there are many Canadian events that can bring 200 to 300 spectators in, or if there have ever been any.
Well, a bunch of them were probably the players. We still had about 90, 100 AMs, or, somewhere in that range, 70 AMs. So, some of them were them. And, a lot of these players come with parents and family and friends. Everyone was encouraged to come out and support their players.
Yeah. You mentioned there about having great weather, but is that the weather that you would have hoped for? Would you have liked it to be a bit more windy for these players that came out to the course?
I mean, a couple more kilometers of wind would have been kind of fun to see.
Yeah.
Oakgoat's known for being a windy site the odd time, because it is up high and there's windmills on the next hills over. So, but to be honest, it was just great the way that it was. The whole point was really just have these pros come to Canada and showcase their talents. We didn't want them getting beat up or, having a bad time, getting overly frustrated with things. So
Right.
From what we could see too, Darrell, is like this was truly an event. It wasn't just a tournament. You guys had so many different things happening, and some of the extra activities, we just kind of wanted to touch on them and to see how they went. So first, there was, how many clinics did there end up being there?
We had 2 clinics. We did a clinic on Wednesday with Gannon, Gavin, Alden, and and both Robinson brothers. So they did one clinic on Wednesday, and we had about 45 people or 44 people attending that one. And, everyone had a great time. That lasted 2 hours at least, and they were gracious to hang around, sign discs, and, answer all kinds of personal questions about it. So everyone seemed to enjoy that one. And then Thursday evening, we had the Philo gave a clinic for about 27 people, and that was stellar. Everybody that showed up for that one was impressed. He's a pro at giving clinics.
Yeah.
If you ever have a chance to go to a Philo clinic, you should sign up. And we're hoping to get him back next year, and see if we can rope him into doing 2, because that was so successful. And then the same day that we had the Philo clinic, we also had the Ace Run Challenge being filmed by Ace Run Pro. They chose to do it on hole 4 at Oak Goat. And so all 5 of the boys that were doing the clinic the day before were up there doing, their typical thing there. So that was perfect. Friday was day 1 of tournament play. We didn't plan anything for the evening that night. But we had the Fly Mark going. For those that were there, the Innova mobile ops vehicle that travels to all the Disc Golf Pro Tour events came up to Canada, and that one features all of the factory store goodies and everything that's typically available only at the factory store online. And they had a massive setup, the big trailer sitting there. Under the Fly Mart, we had Atlantic Disc Golf was also out. They drove all the way in from New Brunswick, so the Fly Mart was busy.
Wow.
And then Friday evening was kind of quiet. We knew that we'd be tired, and people were out there, to enjoy the town a bit, maybe, or get out.
Yeah.
But Saturday was a big day. After the regular rounds, we had this massive. Well, we had one real fun thing was we had the Glow Wombat Challenge.
Yes, I'm excited to hear about that one.
Ladder and Jeff Panis from Innova, and we had about 70 people playing the 18-hole Glow course we set up for the night, and that's the par 3 course on the front 9. And then simultaneously, the Fly Mart was still going. Everyone's hanging around. There's tons of food being served from the kitchen at Oat Goat, and we had and then we had the best thing going was the Crokinole tournament by Tracy. We managed to coerce a bunch of the pros to join in the tournament, and it was perfect. He set it up such that there were pros in every one of the pools, so everyone got to play a round robin game against, like, Jeremy and Isaac and Gavin and the different players. My highlight of the night was when we I was playing with Adam Hussey, another one of our Innova ambassadors. We kind of beat Gannon and Isaac pretty badly, but the whole tournament ended with those two winning the whole darn thing.
Oh, really? I was gonna say, Darrell, I didn't know if the
Gavin Babcock
Go
and
ahead.
Gannon,
Right.
Okay.
they won the whole tournament that night, and which was pretty darn fun. And we couldn't have scripted anything better, to be dead honest, other than them having a good time and winning. So
yeah. Well, that's what I was wondering, Darrell, was with the Canadians. Oh, sorry, I'm interrupting you there. I was just wondering, so the Americans actually have seen a Crokinole board before, or was it just one of those things that they're just a natural talent at and they stepped up?
I've heard rumor that Gavin Babcock has one, and I've also heard rumor that Greg Barsby might even have one.
Oh,
so some of these people have had the chance to touch a Crokinole board before. I don't think it's quite as domestic a game as we perceive it to be. Tracy Boards is traveling the world doing Crokinole tournaments. He's actually leaving Monday again and heading to Las Vegas to host tournaments all week long at the board game convention. I forget the exact thing going on there, but he was a bit of a rock star running that thing that night, and made sure everyone had a great time. And it was basically the second best disc board on the planet. That's what it is.
There you go.
That's awesome. Well, Darrell, when we had you on the show last time, you had mentioned that you were interested to see if the pros could come and try to rip up the rip. And I know you put some gold tees in and you made a bunch of other adjustments to the course to give the pros a serious challenge. Did it work out quite the way you planned, or do you think the course was tough enough for them?
I think the course ended up being tough enough for them. And I was pleasantly surprised with where the scores sort of landed. I was really happy to see Gannonberg kind of rip it up in the end. I don't know if you've seen the stats from Statmando that he's got how was it put?
I think it was he was tied third in average rating.
Average rating over 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And they're within 1 point of each other. So he clearly accelerated or did a lot better than all the other pros that were there that weekend. And his game was just on. He was hot, and he's managed to find a few spots that us mere mortals don't really anticipate as a shot. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's throwing up and over that. We didn't even think we needed a spotter over there because no one would go over that. And then all of a sudden he's going over stuff. And so that was kind of a fun thing to see. And, really as a course designer, it's really fun to see, and educational, just how much these players can really throw. Like, it's tough to perceive the difference between 99% of us and this 1% of elite players out there, of just how much more power and how much more consistency they have. So exciting to see.
Yeah. Well, and as a course designer yourself there and thinking of having the pros come up again in the future, now that they're seeing that Canada is a great place to play, did you get some advice from them, or do you have any ideas of what you might change for next year or for future courses?
Well, let's say we've just focused on Oak Goat. There will be some changes coming because of some of the feedback. I'm planning on reaching out to a bunch of these players formally and really digging in and trying to get some specific comments. I believe in a collaborative approach to this sort of thing, and that there is a benefit to all of us trying to work together to make these courses better. So there were a few troublesome holes out there that didn't quite play, kind of as we anticipated or were hoping, and a couple of them they found awkward. And then just things you can't even predict. Some just ended up with backups that you really didn't anticipate. So
Right.
we'll be cleaning up a few things. They particularly mentioned they would have liked to have seen par 5 on at least the front and back 9. So we've got a great idea to how to create a par 5 on the back. There's one part of 16 that we feel we can stretch out and not easily, but create a very aesthetically pleasing par 5 with a swinging fairway that'll end up with some split fairway options for them. Front 9 is going to require a bit more structural change if we're going to try and pull something like that off. For those that don't know Oak Goat, the front 9 does play a fair bit lighter than the back 9. So players that are scoring are warming up on the front and getting birdies and the like, and then the back 9 rolls around and it does tighten up a little bit for them in general for most players out there, and it's a bit longer and a bit tougher on the back. So, and there's a couple things we got to tweak a bit, but so I'm hoping to get some good feedback, and then maybe after I rest up a little bit, spend a couple weeks late fall out there with the chainsaw and the bush hog and God knows what else, and beating down a few things and seeing if we can carve out some new fairways, which will be exciting. So,
well, Darrell, after talking to Rebecca, what we will say is don't touch hole 3. I think she's got that one just where she wants it. Keep it the exact same way, and I'm sure she'll ace it the next time.
She better ace it the next time. That was such a sad spit out there. That would have been top tier, but she is young, so we can't give her all the great parts of disc golf too early in her career.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, the other thing too about the event is the event was actually one of the 10 Q series events that are happening this year, giving up and coming MPOs and FPOs a chance to win some points and then go to the finals down in Brooksville, Florida. Do you think that part of the event brought some more players up that were maybe looking to get some Q series points?
I expect that was. I didn't actually talk to too many of them specifically about that. To be honest, I have a feeling the USDGC spots and the throw pink spots were probably a similar value and draw for some of them. And one player in particular, Connor O'Reilly, he was really happy to end up winning his USDGC spot here. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out his video coverage on YouTube of the course.
Mm-hmm.
He did a critique and a walkabout and a full filming coverage of the course, and it's pretty fun. He does a good job of it. So, but I'm expecting that the Q series will evolve and get promoted a little bit differently or better in the years to come, as it's still trying to figure this out exactly how these are to be presented and perceived, and how they're supposed to be attended by the players. So,
gotcha. Well, we know how much you love the Crokinole tournament and, a lot of the other things that were happening. But if you were to kind of take a look back and reflect on the event, what was one or two of your big highlights or memories that you're gonna take with you after this first big pro rip?
To be honest, final round, I managed to take a break, if you would call it that, but I was standing there at least on hole 10, watching the players, the lead cards go through, and that was right after the FPO cards had just coming up 18. So, one of the highlights was watching that lead card throw off of 10. And there was one throw that just went so far. I was just like, oh, it's just incredible to see. And to hear the sound, you don't perceive the sound of these discs flying through the air. My discs don't make a lot of noise when they fly through the air, and they do. But to be dead honest, the absolute highlight, I was standing there on 18, ready with the trophy for Rebecca, and she canned the birdie putt on the 18th green from a good 30 feet away, and I feel a little bit proud because I was the one that kind of pushed, Innova to put that, the Dons on the, both Don daughters on the team this year for Innova. And, that was really exciting to see that pay off with her having that commanding win. And when it was just really special for me to be able to hand her that FPO trophy, and you could almost sense the tears in her eyes. And, almost me as a parent, and, I have a daughter similar age, well, a few years older than her. And, I could just feel and sense exactly what her mom and dad were probably feeling at the moment. And, kind of almost made me cry there too. When I was standing next to her, I'm like, all right, hold it together there, Darrell. You got to say something decent at this moment. So, that was pretty much the highlight of the weekend.
So there was two things I'd like to say on that. One would be thank you for putting out all the little clips and all the Instagram lives that you did to be able to watch the pros tee off and the pros coming in on the 18th green, and the little clips of the clinics and everything like that you did. So I appreciate everything you put out there on Instagram. But also going back to Rebecca putting in that birdie on 18, like the lead that she had, there was still no thought in her mind of, okay, I'm just going to lay this up to the basket, let everybody else finish, and then take the win. No, she ran that birdie, like you said, from 30 feet away.
Yeah, because that green could have easily turned into a 3-putt, if you got a nasty bounce and rolled off the cage or something. So it was a bold move, but that's what you need if you want to be a star in disc golf.
There you go. Yeah, you take no prisoners.
No, that's awesome. And Darrell, so the other thing too, this was a really big weekend. I think I was telling you I was out at Nationals, so that was happening this weekend. The RIP was happening, and then with such big events happening at the same time, that's one of those things that isn't exactly as we'd planned. But I think we've got some exciting news that we should bring up, because there isn't a chance for it to happen again next year, because Nationals just got announced, and Haute Goat, as well as Project 15, Newcastle, and Cedar Creek are going to be hosting Nationals next year. How excited are you for that news?
Yeah, I'm tired of it already. I'm very excited about it. Like, we've been having calls about it, trying to get some preliminary ideas about how something like this will be structured. But we're excited. I mean, this is a great area. We've got 4 great private pay-to-play courses in the region. So, there's no issues about it being, having access to the properties, being out on the sites. There are 4 different courses. That's also the charm of it. And there's aspects of the different courses that will cater well to the different divisions and all the people that end up coming to Nationals next year. And, we've got Oak Goat, which is a great central hub sort of venue where a lot of the sort of extracurriculars could probably happen at. But, and then we've got Newcastle, which is like so much fun to go play if you haven't had a chance. Cedar Creek is a stunning property. And then everyone knows Project 15. The disc golf doesn't get much nicer than going up, being up in that part of the country on that, in that area, in that wooded sort of course, the very coarse and rough, and, aesthetically beautiful course. And that time of the year, it's going to be incredible. Like, our goal is to host it on the same weekend. We want it to land again in between D-Glow and Green Mountain Championship, now that the Disc Golf Pro Tour has established that thing. So that's our objective. think tomorrow's the deadline to hand in A-tier sort of requests, but I know as a nationals, it does end up getting a bit of a priority in the selection criteria for that type of activity. So we're just figuring out the logistics of rolling it all in and adding, all the layers of stuff. I was texting with Jeremy Tracy of Tracy Boards. I go, hey buddy, next year we got to book you in again, but we're doubling the size of the tournament. We're going from 48 players to 96 this time, at least. And, a bit jokey there, but, and again, having the clinics and having everything with it and the big fly mart, that'll be set up all weekend. I think it's, it's proven that we can host this sort of thing in this area, which will be stepping stones for bigger and, more bigger events in the future, we hope.
You know what? That's kind of a great lead in, because we have a question in the chat from one of our listeners, Kristen. She wanted to know, so as a tournament director, do you think it's possible to get all the Canadian A-tiers lined up in a way so that it's logical for the pros, so that the pros can tour Canada? And it's kind of a bit of a follow-up to this. So she says, like, does our PDGA rep need to help with this, or do we need to set up a Canadian tour committee somehow? Because she's just thinking that she was out in nationals this year, this past weekend. She was out there playing, and we had an amazing tournament out at the RIP on the same weekend. Is there any way, or is there some sort of, in the future, a way that we could get these lined up so that a touring pro could hit all of them? And I'm not asking you just to solve the question, but is that something that we can look at in the future?
We should all absolutely. We should all be trying to organize this in a manner that works across the country.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we are dealing with our climate and the seasonality of things in Canada. So it may not be possible to have it be perfectly aligned, and it's such a wide country. That is the problem. Like traveling from the Far East to the West for an A-tier tournament, where A-tiers generally don't have the greatest payouts, can become a justifiable problem for the pros to go and do. Someone in the East would be far better off economically to just take a drive down to Maine or, Vermont, right, and plan their tour a little bit that way. I don't think we can sort of expect it to be perfect, but I think there's ways to, enhance it. There also just may be the fact that not every tournament runs every year or something. It just may have to be a bit different if we're hoping to get a more cohesive sort of engagement across the country. But, it's expensive to travel. You guys know that.
That's what
you guys to plan to come out east next year. I can guarantee you it's going to be, you guys are going to blow $800, $1,000 on flights.
Yeah.
The two of you, jammed up in a hotel room. It's going to be another $200 a night for, splitting that between you and travel costs. And you probably got to rent a car when you're here to get around a little bit. So, this is going to be a premium vacation for people. And I think the issue is we just don't have enough touring pros in Canada, and the market's not big enough yet to really support a specific touring pro tour. So I think it would
that is what we'd like to have, right? That's the dream.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I was going to say, Darrell, it's a good answer. And even when we were chatting with John Pytel, who was the tournament director of the Eastern Canadian Amateur Nationals, one of his ideas that he was thinking of that came from motocross was the idea of having possibly a Western set of A-tiers to have a champion on the Western side and an Eastern set of A-tiers to have a champion on the Eastern side. And then wherever the Nationals are held that year, that's where the West and the East can come together and then have a final showdown. And I know when we were talking with him, Darrell, it was just a great idea. That was something that we could see happen in the future for sure.
I mean, I've talked to John many a times about, there's just so many different ways to approach this. But I agree that having the tournaments where it's East and West, sort of coming together at the end of the season. And, 1 year everyone lands in the West, 1 year they land in the East, the third year it's more in the center, whichever the case may be. I mean, that seems like a great option to consider. I think, I forgot what I was going to say. No, it's it's still just a challenge.
Yeah.
I think I always go back, like our market is small. Don't forget we are a tenth of the scale of the US. So we can't expect to have that many players that are willing to travel, consistently across Canada. Even nationals, as much as we crown national titles at the nationals, it really is more of a festival of disc golf at which we crown a few top level players, as being the victors. But many of the people that go to nationals really had no intention of ever winning. They just going for the fact it's a great chance to compete formally with a whole bunch of people, which brings all kinds of great personal excitement and joy to people. So, and that's totally worthy. That's exactly what it should be.
Yeah. Well, and I would definitely fall into that boat because there was a chance of me going MA40. I think Darrell was even surprised to see how well I did on my first day. And then I finally put myself in the position I belonged by the end of the week. But you're right, Darrell, there is that other part of it of just having a great experience and being there and being amongst the Canadian pros and getting a chance to get discs signed and to shake hands and to watch them play in person as opposed to in clips and things like that. And to me, I like to say I had a fun time, but I really enjoyed watching the FPOs tee off and meeting all the players. So, and I just want to say here too, Kristen jumped in there and said, that's a great answer. And thanked you for being so honest with your answer.
Yeah, I thank you, Kristen. Another one of the big highlights this weekend was there were quite a few adults that brought their kids out to watch disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
And, we all talk about hoping there's a great junior program and there's great junior, we all dream that junior disc golf is going to be as popular as kids soccer, which, or some other, or kids hockey, but like, it's just never going to get there, not in any reasonable amount of time frame. But it was very nice to see so many kids out there genuinely excited to be watching the players play. So it does give hope that there is lots of people coming up in the ranks. They're realizing it can be a family type activity, which does need the proper venues and the proper courses where people feel safe and comfortable, and there's the amenities to have them. So, it's all part of what, as disc golf evolves, it will become more available and more accessible for the different people that need to get out there and play. Because, that's been a bit of a problem in the past, that not every course feels safe or welcoming or easy to access and stuff. So, but that's changing as more and more venues become appropriate. So,
yeah.
I think there's something on the associations as well. I know I've had the conversation with Tim, our president of the Edmonton Disc Golf Association, about what the association is doing about getting disc golf into schools, getting out there to junior programs, getting junior leagues, things like that. And I think, you say it's never going to get that far, never going to get that big, at least not in a short amount of time. I agree, but I think we still need to put money and effort into it to get them into the sport.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And everyone, tons of places across the country are doing it.
Yeah.
And clearly even, our team efforts of bringing more juniors onto the squad this year and having more players that represent what a 12-year-old is and a 14 and a 16-year-old is, the potential to be out playing and being part of a larger squad. So I think that is helping a bunch of the kids out there. And, we had quite a few younger players out at the RIP this weekend in the FPO and FA1 divisions. And I mean, there was a young woman from Florida who had family in Oshawa. Their family used to live in that area, but they now moved to Florida, and they drove 30 hours just to come up and play the tournament, and
Wow.
tagged it with a chance to visit relatives in the area.
There you
And
go.
I didn't get her exact age, but I'm gonna guess she was 14 or something, and did perfectly well and had a great time. And her name was Brooklyn, I think so. Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah.
And and they had a great time all weekend. And her little brother was out there playing all weekend, and they played glowy and they hung around. And it was happening all weekend. It was really fun to see.
Well, and you know what? We can't wait to see the footage come out. Everything that you put out over the weekend was fantastic. The rip side, like even seeing everything, Gannon putting up some practice shots, seeing all of Rebecca's stuff, the stuff that Jeff Panis was putting up, and then now knowing that we're going to get a chance to be part of it next year if we come out to nationals. It's just all about it. It all feels good, Darrell, and I can't wait to see what happens as the year goes on and we start preparing for it next year.
I mean, we're excited to get sort of planning on it. There's going to be some hurdles that we have to cover. It's going to require a whole bunch more money than simply running one tournament, because it's basically running the RIP times 4 minus the needs for the high-end coverage. By a company like Ace Run Pro, which is, by the way, just to let everyone know, they're hoping to have the coverage out before the USDGC.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be quick and fast. We've already heard, I think Gannon and Isaac did the round 1 voiceover, or commentary.
Okay.
So, wow. I think that's what they did. I'm still waiting to hear the details on that, and we're just finalizing some of that stuff. So ideally that's going to come out soon, but there's also been a bunch of great coverage up. I don't know if people have seen the doubles match that Gossage posted.
Yeah, with Ezra.
They came out, and then, as I said, Connor O'Reilly's stuff, and there are quite a few other fun little bits, and even Big Germ and the Robinson brothers practice round today in Vermont. There were some clips and discussions about playing crokinole, so it's all out there. People are hearing about what we did up here this past weekend, and I think right off, just before we wrap this up, this happened because, well, we worked really hard to get it started, but it ended and was polished up and finished because we had a massive squad of volunteers out all weekend. And that was essential. The amount of spotters that suffered out there, they're having a great time, but it was hot and it's sunny out at the Goat. It's not fully in the woods under the protection of tons of trees all day. So all of our spotters and helpers, and even sitting up at the front welcoming guests and selling day passes for the weekend. To give you an idea, we had just one little thing to wrap up. We sold enough tickets and had enough visitors, and this was an unpredictable thing. We had no clue whether we were going to sell as many tickets as we did, that after the tournament, after the projected payouts were already put out, we increased the added cash by 25% after the tournament.
Wow.
That's how many spectators we had, that we looked at the bills and just went, okay, it should all balance out. We should be able to pay everyone, and everyone should get their stuff. And we decided that it would be nice if we could, because, it was a huge effort maybe huge effort is a different thing. It was just a great gesture by all these pros to come to Canada. And it was a unique chance for them to connect with a new market, a new bunch of new bunch of fans, hang out. I don't know if you guys saw the posts. A bunch of them went to the baseball game, a bunch played out on Toronto Island, a bunch toured the area. So, it's exactly what should have happened, and why we worked so hard to invite them all to Canada. But
hopefully we can have it again another time.
Yeah, and I'm just smiling ear to ear about all the success that it had and all the pros coming up and being part of it, Darrell. So thank you again for putting it on together. And we know you're a regular on the show, it feels like now. So as we get going closer to it and we want to have some more conversations, let's do it. But at this point here, unless we've missed anything, we should probably let you go because we got one more guest coming our way.
Yeah, let's pack it up for tonight. And thanks so much for having me again.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Darrell.
joining, Darrell.
Good night. Do I just leave now?
Yeah, you betcha.
You can just leave.
All right.
That darn red phone. Yeah. Well, Darrell, let's get our next guest on right away and get going here.
We're ready.
So we have one more guest for you on this action-packed episode. We wanted to reflect back on Canadian Nationals one more time. This guest has done it all in Canadian disc golf. She's the tournament director of the Tournament Capital Open A-Tier. She is part of the organizing committee for the Falcons Flight A-Tier. And most recently, she stepped up to join the Canadian Nationals team to be an assistant tournament director. We are pleased to have Carrie Neal join us again on the podcast. Hey, there she is. Welcome, Carrie.
Hello.
Hey, Carrie, how are you doing?
Oh, hold on. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
Well, welcome back to
You're
the
not in
podcast.
your podcast studio.
No, it's not done yet.
It's okay.
I've been a bit busy.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's where we should start. Hey, Darrell, it almost feels like if there's an A-Tier in Canada, at least Western Canada, Carrie Neal is involved in one way or another. So I think I could understand why maybe the podcast space isn't quite done yet. So what is up with that?
Well, TCO is obviously it's our tournament here in Kamloops, but Falcons Flight is, I was asked when Rudy Faulkner fell ill and couldn't, the first year that he couldn't take on the event by himself, Don and Annette started to form a team, and he reached out to savvy, longtime BC and Alberta tournament directors to come together. And he gave me the nod, and I absolutely said yes, because Rudy's always been a big supporter of Kamloops disc golf. And I just have been on the organizing committee ever since. What I offered the team during organizing, maybe some opinion, maybe some ideas, but I feel like when I get out there, I play my round and then I volunteer. After my round, you'll find me on a hole spotting somewhere, giving players high fives and fist pumps. And I do what I can out there to help set up, take down, whatever I can. When my husband and I get there, we're just put us to work kind of people. Canadians was kind of by accident. Dennis had a plan, and he had a plan for a tournament director if he got a third course. And Lucaria came up, and the third course happened. And the gentleman that was supposed to come, his plans changed, and he couldn't make it. And I had said from the beginning to Dennis, if there's anything you need, let me know. Like whatever, whether it's an ear to bend, help with volunteers, whatever you need. And I said, and when this started happening with the third course, I said, if this gentleman can't come, don't retrain somebody. Like, I'm here. I've done it. Put me to work. And about a month before the tournament, he sent me a message, and he's like, and I'm like, withdraw me. I'm in. I'm all in. Give me a Lucaria. I'm happy to do it. So, being a tournament director and understanding the predicament that would have put me in, and always thinking about the player and the player experience, it was a no-brainer for me to say no and help out a fellow TD, or say yes, sorry, no to playing, yes to helping, and helping out a fellow TD. It just, it made sense to me. I didn't even think twice.
Yeah. Well, and help you did. I got to see you twice during the tournament because you were at Lucaria and I was playing there. And I was playing not long after the FPOs would start, because they were one of the first cards to go out in the morning. And the one thing that I think, Darrell, I don't know if you know this about Carrie. I don't know that it'll surprise you, but she's no nonsense. That card and all of those cards are going to go out on time. And I think our good buddy, Heiserbaum Hong, was going to find that out, because she was one of the first ones there. And I think at 1 minute 2, she's running down at the field there, coming up, and Carrie was like, Terry, if you're late, I'm gonna stroke you. Don't test me.
She was running from the parking lot. She was just giving her. So yeah, no, but on the first day, I was lenient. Second and third day, I didn't take any crap.
No. And
yeah, I think our friends at the Ace Pop podcast talked about that a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that. Yeah, they'd want to be on time for sure. They don't want to mess with you, Carrie. That's for sure.
Well, it's an A tier. Like there's rules, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
So, Carrie, when you looked at Lucaria, when we got there, one of the things that I thought was really cool about the way it was set up was it almost felt like you came to those tents. There's a little bit of water running down the side. There's a mountain in the background. You've got all of these sponsor signs set up. It almost felt like a catwalk. So we'd check in with you. We'd walk the catwalk to the end. And the catwalk literally did end because there was a tee pad. And then there was a water carry on your first hole that made you decide, how much do you think you can bite off?
That's right.
So my question is, like, it was just amazing. That part was good. But where I want to insert the question is, you got to kind of see a lot of the throws and everything over there. What would you say was the percentage of making it to the safe zone and maybe not so much making it to the safe zone?
A lot of people did make it, like the majority. And a lot of them bailed out to the right where it was shorter to get over. Like I think straight over the water was about 280. But you could bail to the right for about a 200, maybe 180 if you went towards the drop zone.
Yeah.
But the people that didn't make it over are the ones that surprised me.
Like
the ones that I knew had the arms to throw, that maybe it was just jitters. I don't know. Like I know people that can throw, and then the ones that overthrew it by like 100 feet that were just like so determined to get over that they landed by that huge tree that was way in the background that like laid the shadow out across the fairway. Yeah, I saw people land at the base of that tree because they were so overjacked, I think, with adrenaline.
Yeah,
they just like pumped it like 400 feet. So I saw some of the greatest shots I saw were ones that went in because, for people that weren't there, the pond that's in front of the tee has a high water line. And the pond was lower by probably maybe 6 feet, but the OB was the high water mark. And people would go in and hit below the OB line and skip. And they just trickle in bounds. And those were the ones that made me cheer the hardest. But overall, 3 days, I'm going to say maybe 10% didn't make the throw. Yeah.
So the 2 rounds that you played there, Jeremy, what was your percentage?
Well, the first round I went a little right, and I think it was very similar to what Carrie mentioned. I overshot, and it went really far. And then I feel really flattered because she said there, just when we were talking, that a lot of people she expected to just clear it and make it didn't. And in that second round that I played there, I was in that group. Now, I didn't get wet. I didn't land in the water, at least not until hole 18. But I did land in the grassy area there, and
the low water mark.
It was one of those ones, Carrie, where I felt really good and I knew I could do it because I was having a pretty good round or a pretty good weekend. But you put that thing nose up and it crashes down early, and that's what happened.
And it floats and floats and floats and it just crashes straight back down. And you can hear people, like it would be like, oh. It was so much fun. And same with the 18th hole where you could see it's kind of a blind shot coming into the water, and you would see these great shots come in, and then all of a sudden you would hear like this resounding and you could see it go towards the water and hit the water. So it was pretty cool.
Well, and then the other thing too, when I was there, I filmed every single FPO throw, all I would say 16 each round, except for that Nicoletta didn't make the last one. But every single round I filmed, and one of those ones was Taylor Chosik's. And she actually took it off the top, Darrell, of the basket. Yeah. And it bounced right off of there.
The first round, because she wasn't on lead card the first round, I don't think.
Yeah.
And first throw off, and she skipped it. And I think she said, when I was talking to her at the end of the round, it went like 60 or 80 feet past, took past the basket after it skipped off the top.
That's why I don't pay into ace pots, and that's why I don't run aces in tournaments. Okay, that's my
The only
justification.
ace I saw on that hole was in the practice round the day before. I was there setting up that runway of signs, and someone walked up, the very first throw at Lucaria, rolled his card up, pulled his disc out, and smashed an ace. And that was the only ace I saw there all weekend. Was in the
Wow.
practice round. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, now, when you and I got to the event, I think when I first caught up and got a chance to talk to you, that was on the Thursday night.
Yeah.
And that was when we all gathered into this hall area, and
Yes.
the pros were there. All the different players were there. Dennis was giving us kind of the intro announcements. It just had this really cool feel. And I think you kind of mentioned it was almost nostalgic of what player parties were like. What did you think about all of that?
You know, back in the day when tournaments would happen, lots of times we'd have shotgun starts. Like if you got 75 players to a tournament, it was mind blowing. And you finished at lunchtime at the same time. You finished at the end. Everyone would tailgate. They'd have a beer. You'd hang out. You always had a players meeting at the start. Everyone gathered like at 8:00 in the morning before your shotgun start, and you'd go off. And even Canadians, I remember the first Canadians that I TD'd. We had a players meeting in the tennis courts at Rose Hill. All of them, 2004, 2011, and 2013. We had a players meeting in the tennis courts, and we had award ceremonies in the tennis courts at the end. And it was the last time I TD'd before this really hardcore 300 people tea time situation came in, and we kind of lost that. I remember the first tournament, Capital Open, when people were like, what do you mean there's no closing ceremony? Like, we're going to get our trophy on the green. And is this the pro tour? And I'm like, how do you manage over 300 people? Like, how do you manage that? Right. And every year that I send out a survey, it's the one piece that comes back the biggest, that people would love a closing ceremony to celebrate the winners. And so I'm hoping, of course, I'm going to piss people off. TCOs, I'm hoping to be able to create that in 2025 by hosting a 4-day tournament where the AMs play 3 and the pros overlap and play 3, with Sunday being the only day the pros play, giving us enough time in the afternoon to bring everybody together and celebrate and close it out and thank people and recognize our volunteers. And I don't know if it's going to work. Who knows? I'll put out a survey again, and people can either shit talk it or destroy it or throw it on Reddit or whatever the hell they want to do with it. But this is going in 4th year, and again, trying to appease the majority, you're going to piss off the minority. But yeah, you know what? When Dennis brought everybody together in the rec center and we all sat on the tables, and you could get an alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverage, and you could mingle and you could talk, and there was food being served, and you could just hear, it was like a din, like a super happy noise of, like, it was like being at a concert before the band comes on stage. You could hear everybody talking, and and laughter would bust out, and hugs were everywhere. And I caught myself a lot of times like wiping the tears from my eyes because it was so freaking cool. And I don't know about the newer era of disc golfers, if they appreciate it as much as us OGs, but that was really, really special. That was like that. And one other moment I had this weekend were probably the highlights of it. Yeah, no, Dennis nailed it with that. And if you're a newer disc golfer, that was what family was for decades of disc golf. That was family. What happened that night?
Yeah, right. Just to touch on that idea you have there, just to break it down a little bit. So are you proposing? So AMs would play Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Yes.
And then be able to be free on the Sunday to watch the pros. Yeah.
And that leaves the AMs the opportunity to go home, stay Sunday, and spectate all the pro. Like, even for myself, as a tournament director, it hurts when I have to put a whole pool of people out and they can't come and see Thomas. And the Thomas and Max playoff was amazing last year, right? And this year, Thomas playing, and so many people were upset by that. And this year, being the TD at Lucaria, I missed it all. I missed Thomas's moment. I missed everything. And I'm usually privy to it being a TD because it happens at my course, possibly. The first year, I didn't get to see it at all, FPO or MPO. So I get it. As a player, as a spectator, as a TD, we come to see those players. They attract us. We do their clinics. We hang out with them. We get their autographs. And how amazing is it to watch them battle and win? So I'm going to try to create that moment on that Sunday, like Championship Sunday for the pros. Yeah.
What do you think of that idea, Darrell? I really like it.
So initially, being honest, when you said about it, I was like, so you want people to take off 2 days off work, a Thursday and a Friday? I'm like, that's going to be hard to push. But I think the benefit of watching the pros, because like you said, whenever I've played tournaments, I don't think I've ever watched a pro play yet, because I'm always on a different course. The pros play one course and I'm on another course, or I'm out playing and it never lines up. So I don't think I've caught 1 or 2 holes of them playing. But exactly what you said, I've got discs signed. I like to get their discs. I like to see their clinics. I like to watch them play.
Yeah.
So giving us that chance to be able to have that freedom and not have to rush and to be able to watch it. So I think that outweighs taking 2 days vacation, if to make a long weekend. If you're gonna, you're not doing it every weekend. I don't think any of us are touring enough to be able to not justify having just 2 days off to extend your weekend. So I'm on board with it.
I'm at the point right now where, don't come and bitch to me about it. Just don't come. If it doesn't work for you, but you're going to do it anyways, you're going to be mad at me because you had to book holidays off. And I know what I had to do this. Well, why are you here then?
Exactly.
Come and enjoy yourself. Like I'm over it. Like as a tournament director, my skin's about this thick.
Yes.
I've done it for decades and I'm not here for the minority. I'm here for the majority. And I listened and I heard what people said, and fingers crossed. Maybe we get a summer date so all those school teachers can come and enjoy it. That was the other big complaint, is that especially even with Canadians, like there's a lot of people that teach school that cannot attend our Canadian championships because they're in September. Or like last year, I think they were in August, but Thunder Bay was out of their way for holidays and the amount of travel they had to do. So for me with TCO, I'm hearing it. We did May, we did June. I'm gunning for July. It's up to the PDGA. I don't know. Right now, my head is wrapped around a bigger PDGA event, but hopefully I'll hear soon about TCO. So yeah.
Well, and the one thing that brings to my mind as we're talking about it, and being that you've got all that TD experience, Carrie, is with Darrell and I now doing the podcast and getting a chance to really be welcomed into the community and talk with the TDs and visit with you at the events, and that a lot of people, I realize, come to a tournament, and when they come there, they expect, I paid my amount of money. Everything should go perfect and everything should be exactly as I want it to be. Maybe not even exactly as it was supposed to be, but how they want it to be. What I really want to put out there is that people have to realize that there is so much work. It's all volunteer, and it's volunteers that's going into it. When that one little thing doesn't go the way you thought it was, take a chill pill and just enjoy the event. That's kind of like, I don't know if I can put that out there, but that's the way I feel about it myself. So, and I don't know if I'm hoping you feel the same way, but
I'm just hoping that people that are watching actually see my expression right now. If you're a tournament director doing it for the pats on the back and the attaboys and the attagirls and you're so awesome, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Tournament directors that do this, 99% of them do it for the passion, for the love of the game, to give back to the community, and to create something for the player. And pardon my French, but we've all fucked up. And I have, everyone that's run an A tier, their first A tier has never been perfect. But what people need to understand coming to an A tier is that the thousands of hours that go into organizing it, the heartache that goes into wondering if I've done it right, if I'm going to make everybody happy, the cost, the hustle, the push to get sponsors, the withdrawal of sponsors at the 12th hour, 11th hour, pulling their money out, saying we can't afford it. When you've banked on that money, you've pre-purchased with that money. Do you do a players party? Do you not do a players party? Do you vend? Do you not vend? You do trophy only? Do you not do trophy only and find a store that'll pay out, that screws you over and doesn't fucking pay out anybody? I've been there and it sucks. And until you've been behind the scenes and run a tournament and understood what goes into it. I just finished saying you needed skin this thick, and here I am freaking crying. Because it hurts. This wasn't my tournament, but I'm online. I'm looking at the people who are so quick to judge, so quick to assume, and so quick to sit behind a keyboard.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I had one person in my 3 years of TCO come to me face to face to have an conversation, ask questions that were constructive and proper. And I was open to share my books and understand and explain. But it just takes one person reading the room wrong, being angry and hitting the keyboard. And it's mob mentality. Yeah. And it sucks. Go listen to the Ace Pop podcast and listen to Dennis. I know the elephant in the room is the player packs. He talks about it, but you know what? The experience, like I said, that feeling at that players meeting was just absolutely insane. Manicured golf courses, manicured. Like they were mowing every night, the greens and the fairways. And tee pads weren't perfect, you guys, but freaking nobody. It's a lot of work. Volunteer. Before you bitch, volunteer.
Well, what I'll say too, as well to that, Carrie, if I can add, is there's a vocal minority that when they wake up in the morning, they're already angry. Exactly. And there's nothing you can do about it. And they're just looking for places to direct that anger. And we can't let that be the thing to think about, because there's the other 95 or 99 or 99.5% of us who are there to enjoy an event. And I will say Nationals, Falcons, TCO last year when I was there, all of these big events, you see what's in there. And thank you to you, to Dennis, to all of the TDs, all of the volunteers are putting the effort in there, because I want to speak for the rest of us. And I hope I can do that. Darrell doesn't like it when I talk for other people, but in this case, I'm doing it.
Absolutely.
Thank you to all of you.
And we 100% see the love and we feel it and we soak it in. But I think when a tournament director takes it personally and gets emotional like I am, I think you realize that it hurts, because we were doing it for the players. Yeah. Like anybody that's like, whatever, screw them. Ugh. They're doing it for the wrong reasons, because those words should affect you. Those words should gut you, and they should make your heart hurt, because you were doing it for them and they are looking you in the face or in the keyboard and basically telling you suck.
Right.
And that peels the skin off of me in anger. And, I think about, this was Dennis's first A tier. Was Nationals the one to cut your teeth on? Maybe not. But I think you're in one of the most beautiful places in the world. Europeans save for a lifetime to come to Wells Gray Park to see those those waterfalls and experience the mountains. And we were lucky enough to play disc golf among that for 3 days.
Yes.
On courses that, were they 100% perfect? No, but they were 98% perfect, which is better than I can say for other A tiers out there that happened in the past 5 years in Canada.
Right.
And you know what? They had a super passionate tournament director that only wanted the best for every player coming through the door. And I'm so proud to be part of that team, and so proud to say that I stood there and I supported everything Dennis did. And was there mistakes? Absolutely. Is there things that could have been done better? Absolutely. That's not my place or my conversation to have, but I can say that it's recognized by the whole team. And you know what? So we've set the bar. Do better next year. Kudos to you, Ontario. We've done it, and now it's your turn to just take it to the next level. And then the year after that, the next province can take it to the next level. Yeah. You know, we're all learning and we're all growing, and that's the part that I hope tournament directors can do, is they can be a community rather than enemies. And we've got to recognize that. We've got to be able to speak to each other and say, hey, I know this was what the experience you had. What can you give me to build on?
Yes.
And that is what needs to happen, not the all for one and screw everybody else, because we're not going to grow as a country, and we're not going to grow our community, and we're not going to be better for the sport if we all sit out here like this. Synergy is really important, and communication is really important. And I think that's how growth is going to happen.
Yeah. It's well said there, Carrie. And I think I can tie it back to show how that's kind of happening, how we recognized, and we had an opportunity to do that at the Nationals event, was Brian Henniger was there from PDGA Canada. And then there was the first Volunteer of the Year award. And I know that I thought you would be on the list. I'm sure you were right there on the short list. But our friend and
that was picked by the PDGA the first year. I got to say, Craig Sheether is an absolute gem.
Yes.
You know, everybody has their downfalls. Everybody, you know, I'm sure people have things to say about me, but Craig Sheether is the reason I'm a tournament director. And he 100% deserved to be chosen by the PDGA for that first inaugural award. He's busted his ass for Canada, Team Canada. The very first duck golfs that were happening in BC, he is such a deserving recipient of that. And I'm so proud to say that I know Craig, and I've leaned in and leaned on for help from Craig as a tournament director in my early years. So I think that's a very cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so awesome to see him, because he was speechless. And I don't know if he's normally speechless.
I've never seen him speechless. So that was pretty cool. That made me smile.
Well, and
so this is news to me, Jeremy. So you never gave me any insight into this.
Shit.
So yeah, you're kind of speaking as if
I'm
everybody knows.
Yeah.
So for those who are listening or watching that don't know, what happened?
So Brian Henniger, PDGA Canada, he's there, and PDGA Canada decided that there will be a Volunteer of the Year award. This was the inaugural, the first one, and Craig Sheether, totally unexpected, did not know it was coming, was presented with this award in front of hundreds of disc golfers, pros and AMs, and everyone alike.
That's amazing.
Came up to the top, to the stage, to stand there to say some words, and
that's awesome.
Didn't have any words. He had a lot of words to say, but he had trouble getting them out.
Yeah, totally. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And I think he said something to the effect about volunteering. If you take 5, give 1.
Yes, he did.
And I was speaking, and I apologize, I do not know her first name, but Ted Moen's wife. Okay. And she said the same thing, that Ted had said that to his volunteers when they used to do racing, like marathon racing, and he organized them and stuff. And he would have people complain and talk about how they could do things better. And Ted would say to them, step up and volunteer. You know what? You can't register until you volunteer. And it was the whole, for every 5 events you run in, volunteer for 1. And that is such a beautiful thing. And I think more players would appreciate just giving back. Like, I know there's, someone said to me, well, you'll never get a pro to do that. They're too selfish. Pros have a different mindset. Pros are doing different things. But for the average community recreational player that plays like their C tiers all winter and their couple of B tiers, give back to one. Even if you're playing in it, show up early and set up, or stay late and take down, or offer to stuff players packs, offer to come out on a maintenance day when the course needs to be set up or mowed or trees need to be trimmed or whatever it is that's being done. Just give 1 day back for a day that you're going to play, just once.
Yeah.
I think it was beautiful.
It was beautiful. And you, I can say as well, had encouraged us within the very first time we talked to you to volunteer for our first tournament. And then we really did. Again, Darrell, I'm speaking for you. Is that we really did feel that experience, right? We knew what it was like. It was fun. It was enjoyable. One person thanks you and your whole face lights up more than had I got a birdie or something like that playing on the course. So playing 5, giving 1, everybody. I think we got a secret word for later, Darrell.
Absolutely. It's already there.
It's already locked in.
Yeah.
But Carrie, what I do want to go to as well is I want to go and focus a little bit more on FPO. We've had the 2 FPO winners on there. Congratulations to Thomas. Fantastic win. Great to have Casey there, Max there. Congratulations to all the American boys in the East. But if I can focus on nationals, focus on the FPOs, we had a full complement of 16 FPOs, 4 full cards, which is probably one of our biggest setups we've had in a while. Yeah. But I really want to go to your highlight, which was at the very end of the tournament. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you waterworks all night, but tell us, break it down, let everyone know how that last day went and what happened.
Well, so Brian was present with the PDGA Canada at the final round because he was, for Park Pro, he was introducing the players live on camera for post-production. So he was there and things kicked off and the trophies were put out and the podium was brought out. And I had to dash away and go and pack up my hotel room. So I had left Ian Warren and he was cool. I watched the final card or lead card of FPO go out. And Brian's like, I might leave, but I'll see you later on. And I said, okay, no worries. 1 hour, I'll be back. And I got back just at hole 7 that meets in the parking lot. And I parked and I ran over and Brian came over and he said, I'm staying. This is the most insane competition. Like, this is so good. And I said, okay, perfect. Well, I'll meet you at the podium and you can do the trophies. He's like, no, this is you. And I said, what? And he's like, I assumed because he was there that he'd be doing the presentation. And he said, no. He goes, you've been here all weekend. This is you. You're presenting. And all I could think of was like, I should have done my hair. Like, I was third day. I was just a disaster, right? I'd been out there 10 hours a day at Lucaria, wind, rain, sun. It was crazy. So I was like, okay, it is what it is. Got the podium set up. And I was watching on live scoring and I was like, oh, Taylor has it. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, Sofia. She's like in the lead. And I was pacing and Ian's like, do you want to take the cart and go out there? I'm like, no, I got to stay here. We got cards to send off and trying to send off the cards, bring in the podium. And then as they were coming on 18, Ian was like, go out there and watch. And so I walked out there and I was like shaking because it was like, oh my God, is she going to win? Just because it's Sofia, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And she sinks her putt. Everyone's yelling and screaming. And Colleen McInnes says, that's the first time in 10 years a Canadian's won this title. And you could, for like a split second, there was like this lull in the excitement. And I was like, and then I said, hey, ladies, like, when you're all ready, come over to the podium. I'd like to present trophies and congratulate you. And I walked back and Brian caught up to me and I said, is this true? And he said, let's take a minute. And so Park Pro was sorting out lighting. We were moving the podium and Brian took off and he came back and he said, Elaine King won in 2015. And that's the last time. It was Ella, Paige, Kristen Page. I can't remember what it was. Raven last year. So it was like, holy crap, like 9 years. This is so big. So I got the trophy and I gathered at Park Pro, had their cameras going. I don't even remember what I said. Introduced Taylor and Colleen as tied and they kind of stood together on the second spot of the podium. And then I announced this first time in 9 years that we can present a Canadian with this title. And honestly, I don't even know what I said. I have to wait for coverage. I went totally like numb in the fact that I gave it to her. And I don't even want to say selfishly, maybe serendipitously. I've worked so hard to grow the sport for women since day one. And the last time I played in the Canadians. I played in 2004 in Kamloops. I was the co-tournament director. And the only other time I played was 2015 in Vancouver. And I played with Elaine King. And in that moment, I realized the last time a Canadian won, I played with her. And now I'm presenting this trophy to a Canadian that's winning this title. And it just kind of caught me, like, all the feels. Like, numb is the only word I can think of. And so I hope Park Pro edited if it's not good. I hope I did a good job presenting. And then I stepped back and Sofia started to give her speech and I started to cry. And I didn't think anyone was noticing. And I turned and Kristen Swirls was standing right there and she goes, "Oh my God, look at you." And I was like, "Ah!" I like pulled my sunglasses up and I was wiping my face and I was just sobbing. And it was just this moment of like full circle for me. And probably the most gratifying, fulfilling moment I've ever had in disc golf. And I've crowned champions. I've been to the Worlds. I've hosted pros in my home. I've made dinner for Paige Pierce. I've like went over course design with Eric McCabe. Like I've had some really cool moments with professionals, but that was just so. If I never TD or ever play again, I'm super happy that I had that moment with Sofia. And yeah, maybe I will say just this once, it was pretty selfish, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm rarely speechless, Carrie, but that's just so fantastic. And as you said, with the serendipity of it and the fact that had you not been the person you were and you actually said, "No, I can't help for this event, I'm going to play my tournament," you could have been off on another course or something, but you say, "Hey, I will always be there." And it just makes sense that it all comes around to that and you get to be a big part of that moment. And it's going to be on film history from Matt and Andre. And I'm going to tell you, there's probably going to be one of those little shadowed circles in the corner or something like that.
If we know the way Matt and Andre edit their videos, that's going to be something special.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And, you know, I shared it in my Facebook post and I shared it with my husband and the few people that we were hanging out with. But like, you know, it didn't really hit me until I got home and because I don't, like I said, I don't do this for self-worth. I don't do what I do in the community to be patted on the back. And the Atta Girls don't come that frequently, you know, like your core group gives them to you, but you hope that you're making a difference. You hope that you're affecting somebody and encouraging them in however whatever I give back to the community. I just hope that it's absorbed by somebody, one person. If I made the difference for one person, I've made a difference. Yeah. And this selfishly, I took that moment for myself. And and Sofia's had so many kind words on social media for me. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been cutting onions for like 3 freaking days. So yeah.
Well,
that's one of the positives. That's one of the positives that I would like to say is that for all those negative keyboard warriors out there, for all those people that we live in a society that everybody's quick to give a negative feedback or anything like that, but people are not quick to give positive feedback. That if you know the positive feedback that you have had from Sofia and all the other countless people that have seen your posts, and you mentioned about you know, if you've just touched one person, well, I can tell you that even from our last episode, you've definitely touched me and Jeremy to do better in disc golf and even in our lives. So yeah, thank you from me and Jeremy for sure.
Thank you. And I say it like when I'm in the moment as a tournament director and at Lucaria, I definitely had some moments where I was challenged and probably didn't make some players happy. But I go out to run a good tournament and I go out to follow the rules and to make the bigger community proud of what I do and PDGA proud of what I do, because my goal is to build the community bigger than I'm leaving it. And if I get a small second at the end of this, I'll tell you why I say that. But when I'm a tournament director and I'm doing things for the better of the player, I'm not there to make friends. And I know that sounds really arrogant and maybe really rude, but I am there to ensure that the event runs as per the guidelines and as per the player experience. And I had some really crappy challenges from people out there at Carrie, and I'm okay with it because I'm making it a better place when I leave, and I'm making maybe those people think about being better players and better ambassadors of the sport. And so, I think about Dennis and the shit that happened yesterday on the internet, and like Reddit's a horrible place to go, and it's a cesspool, it's a rabbit hole. Canadian Disc Golf Hub was, the majority of the people were kind. There were a few that weren't. I definitely said my piece and left. Shout out to Stu McKissick, who came in and gave some fabulous feedback. But it does take thick skin, and it does take, if you want to get to that level of tournament directing, it does take being in the place where you're not there to make friends. You're there. Yeah. It's a job. It's a job that doesn't pay. Right. It's a job. You know what I mean? So I hope people understand that. And I hope people that go to their next A tier and want to be quick to the keyboard realize that there's guidelines to follow. There's rules to follow. There's expectation of the player and expectation of the TD. And I think for the few challenges I experienced, the expectation of the player wasn't met.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Darrell, I hope all of our listeners and everyone out there, we got to get this episode out, because this is one that I think everyone should hear, and they should take a few things from it. To me, is get out there and volunteer. Yeah. Thank your TDs. Go to a tournament to enjoy it, and definitely get out to a nationals tournament as well. I'll tell you that much for sure, because all of those things are important. And what do we got there?
I'm just putting some of the comments up from our in our chat here, just because
so that Carrie can see them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Sean, I don't want to cry anymore.
There's been so many good comments. I'm just putting a few up there.
Yeah. And I saw those comments and I totally lost my train of thought. I was going to say something. Definitely thank your volunteers. Like, if you're a player out there, be grateful for the person waving the flag, because it's freaking hard to get those people out there that wave the flags for you. Everyone's like, oh, there should have been more spotters. Well, I dare you to come on and be the volunteer coordinator. Try it.
Go find those spotters. Yeah.
It's hard. And to my fellow TDs, I'm an open book. Anyone that wants to talk to me, know what I do for TCO, know what, I'm happy to share all the time. And to the player, I'm happy to share. I do nothing without transparency. I don't send a single email without CCing somebody, whether it's the city, the PDGA, tourism board, another club member. I CC somebody all the time. I'm 100% transparent in everything I do. And I think that's important for TDs to understand, because it allows me to CYA. That's my policy. Cover your ass. All the time. So just a few things. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I don't know, Darrell, do you got any more questions? Because I think we covered some awesome ground tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of just sat back and listened to you two talk, because you were there, Jeremy. You've seen it firsthand. I'm just kind of a watcher at this point, but it sounds like an amazing event from what I can hear from what I've seen on social media and from what you've told me and from everything else. So I've got nothing else, Jeremy. I think you guys have definitely touched on you nailed it, and you touched on what needed to be said, and I don't have anything else to add.
Awesome. All right, well, Carrie, thank you. And we're going to give you a moment, so if you got anything else, you go right ahead.
I do. I'm kind of excited. So I just want everybody to send good vibes to the Kamloops Disc Golf Club, because we'll be submitting a bid for the 2027 Masters World Championships.
Oh.
Yes.
I can't believe I said that out loud. So we're going to be submitting that bid by October 1st. We're working with the city of Kamloops, our tourism board, our sports council, and the Tecumseh I'm going to totally, I can't say this word. I'm sorry. Our First Nations in Kamloops.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, someone please correct me, but we're all coming together and creating a bid to send to the PDGA. So Rebecca Duffy, if you're listening, maybe it's coming your way. So
and let's
Brian
say this.
Hoinger was a huge supporter of it. So
yeah, and let's just say you didn't say Masters BC. You didn't say Masters Canada. You said Masters Worlds. I could. Oh, Darrell, I'm just shaking right now.
You're pulling on his heartstrings. You're talking to Jeremy now. This is amazing.
Don't need to go to Minnesota next year. I'm just waiting until BC.
I know. I'm kind of freaking out, but it's pretty cool to have a relationship with the city of Kamloops that we do have over 24 years, and they came to us. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty insane next week for me, but fingers crossed, January 1st, when they announce the majors for 2026, 2027, Kamloops has their name on it. Fingers crossed. I don't ever want to put my cart before the horse, chicken before the
eggs all in one basket,
before the chicken, whatever it is. Yeah, just cross your fingers and send good vibes.
Yeah. All right, we will, and we're already pre-booking it, Darrell. The Wednesday right after that announcement.
Yeah,
we'll see you back here.
Sweet. Yes, if it happens, I'm
Leave
on
that
you
date
guys
open.
for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You guys are fabulous.
Thank you,
I
Carrie.
love you guys.
We appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much for your support and your encouragement and your passion. And Disc Golf Canada and Disc Golf in general is better. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. There it is right there.
There you go.
I cannot say that.
That's fine.
So you guys are better. We're better for having you guys in here. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. We appreciate that.
All right.
All the best.
Good night.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, Darrell, my heart is full. My face is smiling. I'm just like warm all over, buddy.
This episode took a turn.
It did. It took a couple twists and turns along the way.
Yeah.
But what better way to celebrate disc golf than an episode like this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Disc golf. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. Like, yeah, I'm speechless. I don't know. Like normally we come on and we after the we have had the guests on and we say, oh yeah, they were great, and we always have great guests on. Yeah, I mean that doesn't scratch the surface of what this episode has been like, especially with Carrie and everything great that she had to say, and how much respect I have for her and everybody else has for her.
Yeah, having her, we talked about at the beginning, could we have 4 guests? Well, if certainly we can. It makes for a big episode, but it made for a great one. We, thanks to Carrie, thanks to Darrell, thanks to Rebecca, thanks to Sofia, just such a great community. And I'm glad they're all willing to help support us as we try to bring more attention to all of these parts of disc golf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Darrell, I guess we should throw out what we throw out now. If you like what you hear, do us a favor. Subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Like our posts.
Oh,
do all of those wonderful things.
It's not subscribe to win anymore, Jeremy.
Oh, what is it?
Because the subscribe to win was for 250.
Yeah, so let's go on about that.
We're already there.
Yeah. So earlier in the conversation, someone asked us if we're going to give away the 250 balloons as part of the 250 subscriber giveaway. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, hey, if anybody wants them, they're in the prize pack now.
Yes, they're in the prize pack, but we're not mailing those. I'm telling you, I'm not putting those in the mail unless you're going to take the air out of them.
Yeah, exactly. The air will be down by then. They're not going in the mail this size.
No, that's it. Well, and the one
thing
was
hard enough trying to get them in my truck to get here.
Fair enough. So thank you to everybody who has subscribed and helped us get to 250. Help us grow. It just makes for more content and makes the show even better. One thing we have to let everybody know, though, is this is a 250 subscriber giveaway. So on YouTube, we can only see how many right now, Darrell, of our 250 subscribers?
Do you want me to take over the technical part of this, Jeremy?
It's all yours.
So on YouTube, you have to allow YouTube to let the channel that you're subscribing to know that you subscribed. Some people don't want to. They want to have their name hidden. So if you hide your profile, if you hide your name, even though you've subscribed to our channel, and it shows that we have 254 subscribers now.
Wow.
When I go into the analytics and I look at how many subscribers I have, it only shows that we have 68 subscribers. So there's 142 people.
Somewhere in that range.
Somewhere.
Don't worry about the math.
Math is not good. That are hiding their profiles. So Google how to unblock your profile when you subscribe to channels, and then make sure
I think we'll give you about 48 hours here to get that figured out, and hopefully that'll get some more of those 254 subscribers showing.
Let's be a bit generous. You have until the next episode.
Okay.
So you have until next Wednesday. At some point on Tuesday, I will cut it off. I will look at our subscribers, and that'll be the list that we pick from.
Yes.
Those names will be added to the wheel. It'll get spun. That big prize pack will be yours up for grabs. Go check out our pin post on Instagram if you don't know what there's a chance to win.
That's right. So thanks to everybody. Darrell, we thought we'd talk about a little bit about my Nationals experience, but I think at this point we're going a little long. We can save that for another day.
Yeah, I had some other stuff we were going to throw in as well, but it can wait. Yeah, we're not going to top anything that we had in this episode anyway. So
nope. So secret word for this episode: play 5, volunteer for 1.
Take 5, give 1.
Take 5, give 1. Put that in there. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight.
Yeah,
Darrell. What do we do? This is 250 subscribers, 44th episode. There's only one thing we got to do, and I think you can take us there.
There's only one thing we can do?
There's only one thing we can do, and that is...
Chain out! Thanks, everybody. It is playing. It says it's playing. It'll be on in a second.
There we go.
Thanks, everyone.